Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Why should I be happy about being a podcast?
I don't know what the word is.
Bad
there.
one. Okay, I'm going to do a different one.
That's not good.
It's past 10. My daughter is in pain. I don't understand why she has to have this pain. All she has to do is hold out until 10, and it's past 10. My daughter is in pain. Can't you understand that? Give my daughter the podcast.
Yeah, that's good.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah. He leaned into that.
I
He
leaned
did.
into it.
He really did. You can't say those lines and not lean into it because nobody's ever going to lean into it half as much as she does.
And I had something to prove, too, because I'd fucked up the first quote,
Right.
which we're keeping in. Ben, keep it in.
I also had no idea what was happening at all. This was all...
You have never heard the podcast
No,
before.
I have never heard the
Yeah,
podcast.
Get ready.
Get ready
It was a
for
glorious surprise.
Boy,
bunch of
oh
business.
boy.
Hello, everybody. My name's Griffin Newman.
I am David Sims.
And this is a podcast that our guest has never listened to called
Blank Check.
With Griffin and David. We're hashtag the two friends. Now, here are some lessons for you.
FYI,
Yeah.
we are
Let's
the
get ready
two
for it.
friends.
We're the
yes.
two friends because we are friends. There are two of us and we host a podcast together. Now, what's interesting is that this is a competitive advantage.
Okay.
Podcast still an emerging market. No one else has cracked this yet.
To have
Oh.
two friends.
Two friends on a podcast together.
He's going to do all his bits on you now. Because they're all new to you.
I can see, and there's a lot of facial expression that's accompanying this that I'm not used to. It's
The expression
really
is
animated.
pride.
Sure.
We're also connoisseurs of context.
Uh-huh. That's why I've got this
And
computer here.
He's got a computer, look stuff up. And this is a podcast about directors, filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in the career and are given a series of blank checks, underlined, bold,
I
italicized,
see.
to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes the check's clear,
And in this case,
They
they did.
clear like crazy.
Yeah.
And then sometimes 4 movies later, they bounce, baby.
Right. 5, 3, 3.
We can argue.
Yeah, we could argue.
Everyone agrees it bounces eventually. Different people pick
The
different.
check bounces for the, I don't know.
Right. His check turns into Tigger.
Yeah, his check gets very bouncy.
Yes.
Yeah.
This, of course, the man we're talking about, because cracking off a new miniseries. It's the films of James L. Brooks, and it's a miniseries that I'm excited to announce is called
No, don't you do it.
As Pod as It Casts.
It's called Podcast News.
Well,
That's what it's called.
I don't know about that.
And do you know what James L. Brooks' middle name is? It's the same as my middle name.
L.
Yeah. It's definitely
Lawrence?
L. Lawrence.
I get
James
some friend
L.
points
Brooks.
for remembering.
David L. Sim.
Yeah. And we've talked about our past guest and future guest and friend Lux Alptraum.
Sure.
Coined the term the guarantor, which is the
okay.
movie, the success that gives the director the blank check going
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
And this is a weird case where it's the
his
one.
debut film
Right.
was The Guarantor.
Right.
And also his years in television.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But he had to fight. He had to fight to get a movie made.
I guess so. Sure.
And we'll discuss
Do you
that.
know that? Yeah.
But first, let's introduce our guest who talked before we introduce her, which is exactly what we like a guest to do
It's
on
true.
this show. She is an actress.
Mm-hmm.
She is the best fake sister in the business.
Aw.
Something my real sister gets very competitive about. You did meet briefly,
Yes.
and she was
You met
nice to you.
Romilly.
well,
Romilly's very intimidating.
She's very intimidating.
yeah. I mean, Griffin sort of, he set up an animosity really early on.
I didn't
He's
set up.
stoking
She
that
felt
fire.
it immediately.
I mean, that has to be coming from you, though. I think you're the one making her feel threatened.
When my sister was very young, Valorie is our guest, by the way,
Hi.
from The Following,
Oh, yes.
from The Tick,
Yeah.
Amazon Prime,
February 23rd.
season 2.
N-
We'll be
one-
shooting at the time this
1B?
comes out. 1B, February 23rd. This episode's coming out 5 years from now.
Oh, well, I hope you liked it. Then
I
that'd
hope
be
so,
great.
too.
That'd be awesome.
But if not, doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't
Season
matter.
2 coming no matter
Yeah, we
what.
got it
It's
already.
already done.
You can't take it back for us. And I say that with the confidence of someone who has never been on a TV show that was unrenewed.
Right. That's the thing about you.
Yeah.
Where even when the official announcement came down, like
Yeah.
one of my friends was like, "Oh, Griffin must be happy to hear that." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yes, but he was actually on a show that was announced to be renewed and then they took it back."
Got yoinked pretty hard.
Is that true?
That happened
Yeah.
to Vinyl.
I was on Vinyl
That's happened like 4 times in TV history.
4 times. They announced season 2. They fired the showrunners. messy.
I shouldn't laugh.
Messy, right? Brought on a whole new team, had them staff a whole new writer's room, started breaking the season, we're writing scripts, and then went, never mind.
Well, at least you're tanking the entire show, not just like your character
Yoink.
or your casting.
Well, that's the thing. Season 2 was supposed to be me in the spotlight. Everyone knew Casper, the A&R rep who had 4 lines across 10 episodes, was clearly being primed for the spotlight in season 2. And I think that's what HBO, they got scared because it was such a dramatic shift. It was like a Narcos type.
Oh, sure. A new protagonist. Whereas in the Tick season 2, you're being heavily backgrounded, right?
Yes, okay, right. Good. Yes. Right. Season 2, I have a cold. For 10 consecutive episodes, and it's just Dot and Tick.
Yeah, we cut to you in like a rocking chair with like a blanket over your legs, like once in a while.
Yeah. So this movie is insane. It's insane.
Have we announced what the movie is?
It's called Terms of Endearment.
It was his first film.
It's his first film, and he won 3 Oscars for it.
That's true.
It was the second highest grossing film of its year, behind Return of the Jedi.
Right. That one was number 1.
Right, but so like for perspective, what if Lady Bird was the number 2 film of the year behind The Last Jedi?
Right. That's exactly how you want to think about it.
And everyone was like, yeah, 2 blockbusters.
Yeah.
Here are 2 blockbusters.
It was above Flashdance, Trading Places, War Games, Octopussy, it's a Bond movie. Sudden Impact, that's a Dirty Harry movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Live.
It's a Saturday Night Live movie.
Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Live. Risky Business, like Vacation.
Yeah.
Like these are movies that are...
Talking about like 5 of the biggest box office stars of all time.
Scarface. Like it just trounced these movies.
Yeah. Ran laps.
It did. Nothing came close.
And this was in an era where very few movies made $100 million.
Only 2 movies that year made $100 million. Return of the Jedi and Terms of Endearment.
I'll be the token feminist now that points out how many of those other movies that you named featured female leads, because that's one of the things that makes this really Flashdance.
I think
we got fucking Flashdance.
Yeah, you got that one.
All right,
point you.
You give us Shirley MacLaine, we will come.
That's the thing. I'm now going down, being like, what's the so Flashdance number 3. Okay. I'm still going.
We have been teaching.
Yentl, number 18.
Yentl,
Barbara.
Unless Mr. Mom counts. I don't know where you are.
No.
I don't know. Mr. Mom, guys.
No. We've been teaching you guys forever.
Yeah.
Right. The market is eager.
Yeah. And this was over 30 years ago. This was like 35 years ago, and still people are reticent to greenlight these types of movies. Larry McMurtry, the most sensitive... I'm sorry, Larry McMurtry, the most sensitive of the cowboy novelists.
Right, the poet of Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
Who has one of the best track records in terms of his work being adapted of any novelist ever.
Sure. He's written a ton of books.
Yeah.
So many books.
So you go HUD,
yeah,
Last Picture Show, Terms of Endearment.
Lonesome Dove, which is a TV show, but you know.
And then the one time he decides to adapt someone else's work, it's Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. Have you ever seen him?
Yeah,
he's a gruff man.
Yeah, but in a kind of adorable way. I want to hug him when I see him.
But he also has the Evening Star. You can't discount that.
We'll talk about the Evening Star.
And Texasville. Yeah. 2 of his movies were given sequels, bizarre sequels.
Yeah, that people don't remember existed.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to all that. Anyway, Larry McMurtry. He wrote a novel, Terms of Endearment.
Popular?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
I don't think it was hugely popular. Yeah,
no.
I don't think it was like Love Story where everyone was like, wait until they adapt this. I think it was like a respected novel. Yeah,
sure. 1975. So yeah, it'd been around. Here's the New York Times review of it. Very winning.
Hey,
all right. Farcical and realistic.
Farcical?
I guess.
Sure. Okay,
I don't
sure,
know.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll give it to him.
But there's a guy waiting in the wings. Old Canyon Jim himself. James Lawrence Brooks.
Yes.
Who has had this miracle run going from journalism, working in broadcast news, hint, 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 wink, 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 wink.
Sure, right.
To then moving into TV writing, comedy writing, to then becoming a powerhouse showrunner and
Mary Tyler Moore.
Creator. Right. One
Taxi.
of the most, yes. But a huge...
Rhoda.
Yes.
Lou
Lady
Grant.
Things. Not that. Is it Lady Things?
Yeah.
Right?
No, but Mary Tyler Moore was
Lady
huge at its time for being like, here is a single, unmarried woman working in her 40s.
Yeah.
What?
Right. Yeah. Insane.
How?
They designated it as science
she was
fiction at
very
the time.
likable.
Very likable.
And compensate
and
for
she was
those
gonna
horrible qualities.
Make it after all.
She was.
Right. It's sort of like when they give a villain in a superhero movie one likable trait. It's like, here's the most evil creature that's ever existed. Single unmarried woman. But also, look at how well she throws her hat in the air.
Throws that hat?
Yeah. He's itching to make pictures. He wants to make motion pictures.
Is that like, yeah. Well, he produced and wrote Thursday's game, not Tuesday's game.
A secret movie,
TV movie
that I love. It was a TV movie that was done for a bunch of years, starring Gene Wilder and Bob Newhart as two guys who have a weekly poker game that they get pushed out of. And instead just decide to hang out every Thursday and essentially have like...
Wait,
this is like
cute.
your movie.
It's lovely.
This is a
They
perfect
just have friend
movie.
dates every Thursday, and their wives think that they're having affairs, but really it's just like they're really stressed out, sad men, and they find one other person they can like relate to on a friend level. Cloris Leachman, Ellen Burstyn.
Oh my God.
You're right. Those are the wives. Valerie Harper's in it.
Yeah, it's got an insane cast.
Rob
Chris
Reiner's in it.
Sarandon's in it. Rob Reiner.
This was a TV movie?
It was a TV movie.
What
but
network was this?
ABC. And, those are back in the days when people watched TV movies.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a favor for James L. Brooks, giving them so many successes that they were like, fine, you make your little movie. He didn't get to direct it.
No.
Then he writes Starting Over.
Oh my God. I should have been. Yes. Starting in 1979.
Right.
A Pakula movie.
Which is a solid hit.
With Jill Clayburgh and
Yes.
Candice Bergen.
Yes.
Ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies. He likes ladies.
Sure.
And Brassy Broads. Brooks's Brassy Broads. We call them Brooks's
We're letting that one drop like a
Brassy
break.
Broads. Ben is shaking his head at Brooks's Brassy Broads.
You want to introduce Ben for Valerie?
Oh, yes. Ben, this is Valerie.
Well, we met because you were both late.
Yes.
We were both late. I was barely late, I want to point out.
Okay.
Wow. I'm not getting any help on that one.
Yeah, you're too busy getting food.
I was too busy getting food, so I would not be an asshole on this recording.
Okay.
Right? You know what I'm like when I'm hungry?
Hey,
calm down.
I've started something.
This is getting way
I
too
can't take it back.
political. Okay, this is getting too political.
Uh-huh.
And we have to nip it in the bud, okay? Valerie, this is Ben.
Hi.
AKA Producer Ben, AKA the Ben Deucer, AKA Purduer Ben, AKA the Poet Laureate,
This is
AKA
gonna
the
go on
Haas,
for a while.
AKA Mr. Positive, AKA Mr. Hositive.
He's doing it off the
AKA
dome.
the Tiebreaker, AKA the Peeper, AKA Hello Fennel, AKA
No
the
ginger
Meat
jokes?
Lover.
No ginger names. He's got the...
Soaking Wet Benny, Red Hot Benny,
Red Hot Benny.
Dirt Bike Benny.
That's a ginger name.
It's our finest film critic. He's a close personal friend of Dan Lewis.
That is true.
He's
Wow.
graduated to certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Kylo Ben, Producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Say Benything, ... Ailey Benz with a $sign, Warhaz,
Purduer Bane,
Ben 19, the Fennel Maker,
and
Robohaz.
There you go.
I thought I knew you.
Now you
That's
know.
why I
Now
wanted
you
to do
do.
the introduction.
Now you really do.
I keep
So-
jumping the gun.
Now we've done all the dumb shit we have to do.
Dumb shit out of the way.
Great.
Serious
Everything else is
conversation
going to
now.
be not dumb.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
Yeah, got it.
serious.
Very
Yeah.
serious. Let's talk about Brooks's Brassy Broads.
But
we're getting serious now.
we've done some genre. Well, yeah, a few genre directors. I wanted to do, someone who makes slightly more grounded movies.
Human films.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he is one of those rare examples of that guy who also got, crazy blank checks to make weird movies that sometimes did not work out.
Right. But this is off of the success of all of his shows, off of the success of Starting Over. They finally let him make a little picture.
Yeah, $8 million budget.
I'm sure they viewed this as a throwaway. Why not? A programmer. Who cares?
I guess so, but they did release it in December. So, I mean, clearly, once they saw it,
Probably
I guess
once
they
they
were
saw
like,
it.
okay, this looks fucking good.
Right. Because the guy fucking hits it out of the park.
With TAV?
Yeah. And immediately he's like now a brand name as a filmmaker.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, how many filmmakers have won the Best Picture Director for their debut? It's a rare
Sam
feat.
Mendes.
Sam Mendes. That's one.
Robert Redford.
That was his debut?
Yeah.
Ordinary People? Yeah. All right. Maybe there's a few more.
His Dances with Wolves.
Isn't Costner one?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The
Come
80s,
on.
weirdly, they did this a bunch.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Valerie, when did you see this movie first?
I saw this movie first not long ago. It was about actually 5 years ago, I think. And I was on an airplane, and I was like, I've never seen this movie. This is supposed to be one of the good movies, and the 5 good movies.
One of the 5 good movies ever made. Yeah,
and I put it on, and I immediately realized that I had made a huge mistake because this was the wrong context. The similar experience I had was when I tried to watch Moonlight on my iPad on the treadmill at a gym.
It got worse. Moonlight on your iPad on the treadmill.
Yeah, on the treadmill. And I had to stop because I was so ashamed on so many levels.
Did you set the incline to be steeper as each chapter progressed and his struggle to find himself, his identity became greater?
If I'm totally honest with you, about 10 minutes in, I turned it off and I realized that I didn't have any more episodes of Vikings, so I was just not going to do cardio that day.
Sure.
I do. I too. I need something.
Your exercise is conditional to having good content.
It's a reward-based system.
That's how I get through a lot of shows. Is I will only allow myself to watch them. Like the OA was that way, so I did a lot of cardio that week. Because I can only watch it when I'm doing that.
Yep, me too.
I need to start doing this. I'm trying to get in the season 2 shape.
What shape?
That's the point. I'm trying to buck the trend from season 1. Old tired Griff.
Do you think if your body was like a humming machine, you'd be a better actor?
I don't think my body will ever be a humming machine.
Humming machine.
I think I have a lot stacked against me.
Yeah, your body's like a jalopy.
My body is a sloppy old jalopy.
Yeah, right.
It's a puttering
it's
like
Jughead's
Mickey Mouse car.
We
made the same joke, different sides.
We did almost kill you.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And you can attest to that. We can talk about that now.
Behind the scenes.
This is a good place to
This is a great place to talk about it. I almost died a couple times. And, the character of Arthur is chubby. And when I was cast...
Oh, that's true. I mean, originally.
Yes.
Right, in the cartoon and stuff.
He's got like a belly,
he's
right?
Got a belly. He's a little more
fat.
rotund.
That's the thing, because the thing with Arthur is his face is a little round, he's got a big belly, but then his arms and legs are really fit. Because the idea is he's doing a lot of running and
he's
winging.
got abs. Like
kind of, it depends on the drawing.
All right,
he's got a tummy and pecs. It's a weird body that would be very hard to develop.
Right. You're right.
But when I was cast, and there was only a photo out, people complained online, and I of course read them because I hate myself.
Online?
Oh yeah,
yeah. People complained online, so I gained some weight, and I was like, everyone's gonna fucking laud me for gaining the weight.
Did
the
you
Nero
really?
style. I did.
He's an idiot.
I'm a moron, and no one ever acknowledged it, which means that most people didn't notice, and the people who noticed were like, we shouldn't talk about this.
Well, you did lose 20 pounds.
I did.
In one episode.
There's an episode where I lose 20 pounds, where I go around a corner and I come back and I'm 20 pounds later because I almost died.
Usually that's actors' season 2 bodies, but if you were on a show that got renewed, you'd know.
Right. That's my goal, is to get as close to death as I can before the season starts. So I look good, but then don't die while we're filming. That's my big strategy. Anyway, this is what I was going to say.
We're slightly off topic.
I don't think so. Moonlight, I start crying within 5 minutes of that movie. I find that film very overpowering. Now, in terms of Endearment, you said you watched it on a plane and immediately realized it was a mistake. Does this movie start activating you emotionally that early on?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
I mean, well, I said to you before we even started, but the line that killed me, it's 2 things. It's this one line in the opening, and it's also just Deborah Winger's performance.
Yeah.
Which I have never seen anything like it. Honestly, I can't really relate it to anything. I describe this as she's so natural. There's a sense of this could be it could be improvisational. It could not. You don't know. It's as if she is just a person who wandered onto a set and they were like, she's doing interesting things. Let's put the camera on her.
She has very human energy.
Very.
Yes.
But no, the line, "You are not special enough to overcome a bad marriage."
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's a great line as written, and also if someone delivered that line to me, I'd have to go on vacation for a month and not talk to anyone.
Yeah, and this movie is full of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's his specialty.
That's the arrow to the heart. Just to start.
Oh.
You will be cracked open for
hammer
the rest
blow.
of this film.
Yeah.
Right.
This movie, I will say, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here, but I rewatched it. I saw it for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago on Netflix, having been a James L. Brooks fan, but being like, oh, it's weird, I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a hammer punch, but I do think what's kind of impressive about this movie is it, spoiler alert, unlike most quote-unquote cancer movies, It is not structured like a cancer movie until it is.
I had avoided this movie for years because I knew of it as a cancer movie.
I always thought it was going to be 2 hours of someone slowly dying.
Right.
See, I actually always thought this was like toxic mother-daughter relationship movie.
Right. I also thought that they were much more opposed.
Those were the two things I thought it was. I thought it was going to be she gets diagnosed 10 minutes in. I didn't realize
that they move away from each other almost immediately.
Right.
Like, yeah.
My mind's eye version of the movie was she's diagnosed 10 minutes in, and then it's a mother and a daughter fighting while she dies of cancer. And I was like, that sounds rough. I know that's supposed to be good, but that sounds rough.
It sounded like one of those emotional ringer movies where, at the end you're almost exhausted, but it's so powerful.
This is kind of like a companion film to Beaches. If Beaches is like the more commercial, likable
That's
characters.
What I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought this
Beaches
was going to be
is like
Beaches.
slightly wackier, but yes.
But instead, it's like what's kind of fascinating about this movie.
Man, and this has DeVito and Beaches as Hoskins. They both have like diminutive love interests. I mean, DeVito is obviously not
both
crucial.
have hairy eggs in them.
I mean, the men in this film.
Yeah, it's quite a group of guys.
Just Jeff Daniels' name.
Yeah,
Flap
Horton.
This is when Jeff Daniels.
That's like a Palin name.
It's true.
This is when Jeff Daniels is at like peak golden retriever.
Yes.
When he's just trying so hard, but he keeps on pissing.
Golden retriever.
Because he keeps on pissing on the rug.
Right. He's a shitty golden retriever. Your furniture's all messed up, and he's like,
but they're all shitty people.
This is his second movie, Jeff Daniels.
What was his first?
Ragtime, which is his debut, where he's sort of like a hot young face.
And Lithgow only had sort of gotten big in the couple years before this. This is the year after Winger does Officer and a Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside of McLean, these are a lot of like new people for the big screen.
Right.
People who are just kind of starting off. But everyone's so perfectly cast. And the movie is for like the first 85% just the story of these two lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without any sort of foreboding like cloud on top of it. Like it just feels like you're watching like Boyhood or something, you know? It's just like, here are these people over the years and their relationships and the changes. So then when like the fucking hammer drop happens, it's devastating because it's not a movie where you're sitting there going like, oh fuck, just how much longer?
No.
Well, it's really not a sentimental movie.
At all.
It's an incredibly unsentimental movie for a cancer film. I mean, even the moments that make me cry so much are because they lack sentimentality, like her, like we're jumping to the end, but like her goodbye to her sons and things like that. It's just, I know.
Yeah.
Even her death, I didn't know she had passed.
No,
I was like,
that scene is so
I
impressive.
watched that scene and I was like, did she just give her a shot? Did she just was she just murdered by the nurse?
I had to rewind.
Here?
I wasn't sure what had taken place.
Yeah. It is such an understated movie that is just so fucking exquisitely observed in like every fucking moment. So the opening scene
Before the cancer.
Yeah. He does this thing I love. So already I'm just like so on board with this movie where after like the black and the opening like company titles, then it's just that little like nightlight in the corner. Do you know what I'm talking about? The first shot of the movie is you just see the nightlight and the rest of the screen is black. So if you weren't paying attention, you would almost think maybe the movie like still wasn't starting yet. And you just hear Shirley MacLaine freaking out about the baby.
Right.
Oh.
It's crib death.
Right.
It's crib death.
Right. So you're like, okay, this is an intense woman, but it's entirely directed at protecting her daughter now. Which like
when she almost
She's
gets in her high heels and then she retracts.
In that pink dress. Yes.
And this movie has so many good like long takes where he just lets the actors play things out.
Yeah. And a lot of it there are always like two shots. He's not doing a lot of like traditional coverage. I mean, it plays a lot like theater. You're doing these extended scenes and you're just sat in these static shots and I don't know, it's beautiful. I think that's part of what lends that kind of natural aspect to the performance as well. It's just capturing whatever's happening. It doesn't feel as curated.
Ben's laughing. I don't know why.
No,
because it's a smart point. That's why
it is, and it's like I was like, why are they cutting?
Right. Yes.
Like a million different angles. Like what is happening? My brain kind of.
He's not like carving a performance from the various performances he was given. He was just like, this is what they're doing.
And I think he likes tension. He likes them playing off of each other
comedic
rather than
and dramatic
creating
tension.
it. Yes.
But we've recorded this miniseries totally out of order because we're banking up episodes before we start filming season 2 of The Tick, Arthur Gets Buff. And so we've been watching later Brooks movies before now going back to record the first one. And he gets so close-up reliant where like by the time you get to How Do You Know, the movie could have been shot with the actors in different continents in different decades. And this, it's like when he cuts to a close-up, it's really fucking good.
Right.
But he like saves it for when it's like an exclamation point on something.
He also, and like, it's funny because we were talking off mic about how he was perceived as sitcomming, mainstream American movies, but this movie doesn't cut at all. Like that, it's not what you would think of as a sitcom-y movie.
No, and it is a comedy. Like I think it's so devastating.
It's
by
very
the
funny,
end.
and I laugh a lot throughout the movie, except when she has cancer.
It's a comedy like Chekhov is a comedy.
Yeah,
I just think it's got a really consistent amount of jokes, but it's also devastating.
It has a lot of great lines that I laugh at, and it has some very exaggerated sequences. Like the car. Hey, is someone's Nokia ringing?
What could that be?
Oh, guys. This is my business phone. Hold on. Let me just pick this up quickly. Ben, do you mind if I just put this on speakerphone quickly? Val, I'm sorry. Let me just get this quickly.
Fine. Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, you're not coming through clearly.
No, I'm coming through crystal clear. This is how I talk.
Okay.
Wait. Is that who I think
My
it is?
ears were burning.
I know who this is.
David, a little bit of advice.
He's an actor in the movie we're discussing.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
Hey, Jack, how you doing?
Ben, quick question.
Yes, sir.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
No.
Griff, third question. You got any advice for what I should do for my hairline?
Oh, he's bringing it up. Okay, well, Jack, it sounds like you're like one of 66% of men who lose their hair by age 35.
And you're certainly on the wrong end of 35 right now. Look, Jack, can you hear me? This is Griffin talking.
I'm not.
Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late.
And it's like, I'm not saying your hair all falls out right away, but maybe you notice it slowly moving backwards, maybe some bald spots.
And Jack?
Yes?
It's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair you've lost.
He can hear you. You don't have to shout.
With speakerphone, sometimes it's hard. Yeah.
Well, Jack, have you been turning to any weird solutions when, to try and fix your problem?
Jack, I ask you, do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first?
The latter.
All right, well, why don't you go to forhims.com, which is a one-stop shop for hair loss, for skincare, for sexual wellness.
Sexual wellness?
For men.
I'm a bit of a fuck master. You know what I'm talking about, Ben.
I get it, Jack.
I like to rub another man's rhubarb, if you catch my drift.
Well,
sure.
Okay, whatever you want. Thanks to science, baldness is optional for you. Hims will connect you to real doctors.
What?
And they'll get medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss.
Oh, like the kind of stuff you get behind a gas station counter, right?
No, more like well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions that will help you keep your hair. There's no snake oil pills.
That was going to be my next question.
No, these are prescription solutions backed by science.
Well, great. It sounds like in order to do this, I just have to go through an awkward doctor visit.
In fact, all you have to do is go to forhims.com. There's no waiting room. It's so easy. You answer some questions. Doctor reviews and prescribes you, and the products come right to your door.
Well, sounds great to me. Trying to make sure I don't end up like a DeVito.
Now, I actually use some of these products. I am 32 years old, and I have been losing my hair.
Sure,
and I'm going to tell our listeners that the doctor was able to provide me with the topical solution and a prescription. It's all been really helping me feel better about myself.
And you didn't have to have some weird conversation where you go all the way to the doctor's office.
No, it was super easy.
All right, so
Ben!
Yes, Jack.
This is 3-time Academy Award winner Jack Nicholson talking.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Does Hims treat pubic baldness?
I bet you could use the product also on your pubis.
Cool, I was asking for a friend.
Okay.
My friend the Joker.
Order now.
Played by Jack Nicholson. It was me. It's the worst performance I've ever given was pretending that I'm not afflicted with pubic.
I mean, honestly, I thought you were just saying your nickname for your penis was the Joker.
It is.
Okay.
Blank Check listeners are going to get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. Wow,
what an effective ad read. I'm so glad I fit pubic baldness in there.
You just go to the website forhims.com for the details. This would cost hundreds of dollars if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. And instead, all you need to do is go to forhims.com/check.
Okay, I gotta run. I hear another podcast talking about me. Gotta call them up on my flip phone.
All right, well, you can hang up on Jack, but I'm just going to say, just go to forhims.com/check. That's forhims.com.
So I check to make sure I've typed in the web address? Let me hang up.
No,
Wait, what are you saying?
You go to forhims.com/check.
Oh, great. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
That's crazy. He just called in on my work phone like that. My Nokia
Why is
work
your
phone.
work phone a Nokia 5110?
Because I want to make myself a little difficult to reach. Only the Nicholsons have that number.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Val, what were you saying?
I'm looking forward to your take on the car. I just didn't know how the car started again. Genuinely, that's what I was worried about. There's no way they're stuck there.
No, they are stuck there.
Done.
There's a few sequences like that are.
Though Nicholson's whole character is definitely more heightened and comedic, and was a character that was not in the book.
Really?
Not in.
So wait,
the
what's
book.
the book then?
The book is the mother and the daughter.
But what does the mother do?
Because
her sexual awakening to me is so crucial to why this.
But
movie
you know what?
works.
I was going to say I could totally do without the sexual awakening. That feels.
Sure. I like
that
the
feels
sexual
that
awakening.
sort of like cliche, inevitable thing that she needs to be fixed of the fact that she isn't particularly interested in sex.
Sure.
And she needs this. She needs this man and his bravado to come and wake her up. Like, fuck off.
But
I prefer her and her Amanda Wingfield with her gentleman collars around her.
Oh my God, those gentleman collars, they're
the
such
best.
goblins.
Love them all.
My wonder is if in the book the DeVito character is more of a thing.
Maybe.
Because it feels like
so good with his
set up so
bolo
big.
tie.
Right. You're just like, is this a bunch of her being like, I don't want to fucking sleep with you, Cowboy DeVito, you know?
Danny DeVito is a sexy man.
He is.
Val is not
so
buying
hot.
it.
I'm not
her forehead.
I'm not going for it.
I love DeVito.
But you know what? Like, these women do have some interesting taste because I wouldn't have necessarily gone with John Lithgow either.
No,
he's got
older John Lithgow. He aged well.
He
was
when he's
very
young,
creepy when he was young.
It's weird. He looks like a Frankenstein.
It's like he has no hair at all on his skin.
Yeah, and it's right. It's a bit of a baby face, but then
like
also
an old baby.
He's a giant, right? He's like this lumbering giant. I mean, that's why he's so well cast in this movie.
When he picks her up.
Oh my God!
But I love that she doesn't have an affair with a young stud.
No, exactly.
No, Daniels is hot. Like she
Daniels,
did that.
He's a fucking hot dog in this movie.
Right? Exactly.
Hot
He's a
dog, hot
dog.
diggity dog.
He's nice. Like Lithgow's nice, and she's like interesting.
Right. It's
like,
literally just like he is so sensitive and attentive.
Right.
Well, because that's what's missing. Well, I don't know.
100%,
That's the other thing that's like crazy to me when I watch it, and like already having made the point about it being about two women at this time. But this is literally, and is again why I kind of don't need Jack Nicholson. But it's like we're watching a film about these two women and their sexual identities.
Yes,
that's
what
this
I love
movie
about
is
this
about.
movie.
You know, I mean, that's her whole relationship with Jeff Daniels, and so she has that fulfilled. She just doesn't have any of the emotional needs fulfilled, and that's what John Lithgow's there for.
Right.
There were a couple of lines in the first 30 minutes alone where I said, I can't believe this movie was made 35 years ago, and I can't believe people are still skittish to do this today.
Right. Yeah.
Where like her getting oral sex from him on their wedding night in an extended sequence that isn't
wedding
graphic.
day, isn't it?
Wedding
it's
day,
like pre-wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But they like stay on that.
This movie is rated PG, by the way.
Yeah.
Parental guidance.
Because PG-13 didn't exist.
Yes.
So you either
they say fuck
hard
once,
R,
and she talks about it making her wet like 20 minutes in, but it's a PG.
Yeah.
Right, and like that line too, it's like this movie is so casual.
It's frank.
In the sexual desires of these women and describing the acts for them in a way that doesn't happen fucking today.
No, it doesn't.
Unless people act like that's the entire point of the movie.
And then it also would have no levity.
Right.
There would be no humor at all.
It's very offhand in this. Like, there's the moment where she's lying on her back and then the dress goes up over her head and you go like, any other comedy would cut out right now.
Right.
The second it's implied, they would cut out. And then it's like 90 seconds of Deborah Winger going like, where did you learn that?
But with that laugh, like her snorting
She's
laugh
like
when
enjoying
it goes up.
it.
Yeah.
Sex isn't a burden.
And it doesn't immediately get unrated because she might have an orgasm.
35 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe they just
Insane.
didn't know how to categorize, oral sex on women 35 years ago.
Yeah,
nobody
maybe
could conceive of it.
No one will get this, so let's not worry
They didn't
about
know what
it.
it was.
They didn't
so they
know.
were like, he's doing something to her toes.
What are you talking about? But she doesn't have a penis. What could he be doing down there? There's nothing to do.
Giving her raspberries on his stomach.
There's the getting on top line later that's so funny.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh, I love that line. So it really makes me laugh where she's like, she just wouldn't, that wouldn't be.
Right.
Well, and it's even like.
Have you asked? Hundreds of times.
About 1,000 times.
But she
stays with him despite his behavior because 100%. The sex keeps them together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fucking rad.
Yeah. Yes. And she even says that later on, where it's like, why didn't you lift this guy? He's so cute. Like, she is still so turned on by him. It's so interesting. I mean, I hear what you're saying about Nicholson, but I also like that that's the middle act of the movie.
Yes.
That isn't what it builds to ultimately. She kind of gets over him, then is fine with, like, that's a period in her life.
I mean, isn't the last line of the movie her saying that her 2-year-old granddaughter is too old for him?
Yes.
It's great. It doesn't, because it doesn't, yeah, exactly what you say. The fact that it doesn't become the culmination of her storyline, that is not the end goal for her arc.
Yeah. Right.
I agree. That's what makes me like, all right.
That character was made whole cloth for the movie.
Yeah.
And was written for Nicholson.
Obviously.
Interesting.
Right. I think probably the suitors were more of a thing throughout the movie, with DeVito being the biggest one. I don't know.
Because, Nicholson is in most of James L. Brooks's movies.
Yeah.
And obviously they have a good working relationship.
Now.
But it's like, did they know each other before this? Now.
What do you mean?
Well,
you said that like you had some hot gossip.
Well, this is where they establish their relationship, right? Or are they already friends?
Yes, there was such a Rio Grande line with TV and film, and Nicholson is like maybe the biggest star in America at this point, if not in the top 5.
That's pushing it, but he's a big star.
He's huge, humongous, right? He's already won an Oscar.
Yeah, but no, he's not like a Redford or even a Paul Newman. But yes, he's like...
I'd say he's in the 5 with those guys, right?
As a serious actor, yes, not as a box office guy. Like,
had he already done like Witches of Eastwick, where he's playing these kind of
that's way later.
That's
87.
Right.
Batman comes later. Reds is the same.
This is kind of the start of Cad Nicholson in a way.
Well, if you think about his the last 5 years of his career have not been successful.
Oh, interesting.
Not really. I mean, The Postman Always Rings Twice and The Shining are in there. Those are the hits.
Right.
I don't know how big of a hit The Postman Always Rings Twice.
So he discovered his
it wasn't actually.
Character
kind of
in this film then.
A little bit,
he then kind of played variations on.
Because otherwise you got weird movies.
Yeah.
You got like The Missouri Breaks and The Border and Going South. It's where he's like trying shit out. You know what I mean? Like, he's a famous actor, obviously. Has his Oscar. He was in like Chinatown and Cuckoo's Nest and all that. But like,
so funny. It's like all the characters
that preceded
it.
Box office man.
Like the successful characters that preceded it were predicated on him being dangerous.
Sure.
Yeah. And this is a character who there's nothing left in him that's dangerous.
Right.
Like, he's past that point.
It's kind of a brave performance in a way, because he's all tubby and he's sort of like an
he's
idiot.
Got that belly out.
He plays his belly a lot.
Yeah.
He really plays his belly like a drum.
I read an interview with James L. Brooks where he said that he thinks Jack Nicholson's the greatest actor alive because of how much he pushes out his belly in the terms of endearment. That's where he realized it, where he went, I don't think there's another guy with this power.
With who would have the lack of ego.
Right, the lack of ego to just do whatever is demanded.
You went for it at the beginning of season 1. You tried.
I tried. I was trying a Nicholson so hard.
Belly.
I was pushing out my belly. There is one scene in the pilot where I'm literally pushing out my belly like someone doing an impression of a pregnant woman.
I did not notice.
You know when kids do that in like middle school?
I feel like it's when you're wearing like a little off. I mean, you're always in the sort of office pants, aren't you?
Yeah. No, it's when I'm in my pajamas. There's like the scene in the pilot where Tick is in my apartment, I'm in my pajamas, and I'm literally pushing out my belly as far as
you should have unbuttoned it so you could have had that Nicholson his swim
punch.
attire.
Yeah, I should have gone. Yeah.
Well, because in the first scene, he's got like the chest hair out, and he's sort of like he's using it almost like a prop. That's when he's asking her to get lunch with him.
But
when she makes the move on him, it's all belly.
But it's years later. That's something that was amazing to realize is how much he progresses.
Incredible.
Well, right. So when this movie kicks off, you're like, oh, okay. So it's about, you see the scene we just described with the baby, but then it's like, oh, she's a teenager. Oh, she's getting married. Like, we start rapidly moving forward in time.
And the kids are born. I mean, it's just like
she moves away really fast.
Mm-hmm.
He makes big jumps in time without title cards, without like anything expository. Like, she mentions being pregnant, and the next thing you know, she's got a 2-year-old, Right.
Actually, it's not the next thing you see that she has a 2. Like, the last pregnancy, when she has a conversation about, Shirley MacLaine brings up the abortion.
Right. When she wants to.
They wait a while to show the baby.
Right.
And I had a moment where I was like, holy shit, did she do it? Like,
he does that really well. But you make a really good point about the Nicholson thing, which is like, he becomes this kind of symbol of the counterculture in like the 60s and 70s, where it's like, here's the angry young man fighting back against, the institution. And he's one of this wave of like the new 60s, 70s leading men who don't look like movie stars.
And nobody still has the energy that he does. People are still trying to find that or copy that or something, that's like crackling, dangerous energy.
Some weird, like caged animal, right? But then this is the turning point where it stops being Jack Nicholson is the audience surrogate character. you're venting your like anti-institution frustration through Nicholson ordering too much at the diner, you know?
Sure.
And then this becomes like Nicholson is the supporting character or the co-lead. He's like the dilemma, and the movie is about how scary Jack Nicholson is in a lot of ways.
So many of his performances post this, like Heartburn, Witches of Eastwick, like is like it's like, do you really want to get in bed with Jack Nicholson metaphorically or literally? Like, are you sure about this? I know he's charming, but like he might be the devil.
And then it even like runs all the way to like the last 5 performances he did are all like Anger Management, The Departed.
Not the bucket list.
Well, it's men. It's older men who used to be that sort of angry young man who've lost their virility, and now that's the source of their anger and frustration. They're trying to compensate for it.
But when he's quiet in a movie like The Crossing Guard or The Pledge or something, he's good too. I mean,
about Schmidt, he's great. And,
about Schmidt, you know, like he's a very talented actor. But he's also a movie star.
You read Paul Thomas Anderson, doing his like Phantom Thread press, has talked about how he really wanted Warren Beatty to play the Burt Reynolds part in Boogie Nights. Yes. And he sent the script to him, and Beatty came back with notes on the Dirk Diggler character because he just assumed that's what he assumed that's what he was being offered.
Now, it's interesting that that's one thing that's amazing that you said that. But it's interesting you just said that. Do you know who this character was written for?
Warren Beatty?
Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yes.
The Nicholson character was initially
Thank God it wasn't Warren Beatty and they cast Shirley MacLaine and Warren Beatty. Yes, I do know that. He wrote it. He
originally
wrote it
written with him in mind. Reynolds turned it down to make a NASCAR movie called Stroker Ace.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Great. Reynolds famously
won 5 Oscars.
Reynolds famously said there are no awards in Hollywood for being an idiot. You know, because Reynolds is one of those careers where it's like he was a fucking movie star for all the 80s and was mostly critically trashed for all of the 80s.
Yeah.
And like when he was just like, whatever, I'm going to be a movie star forever. Right. And then when the 90s come around, he's like, where's my Oscar though? Like, wait a second.
That was the Burt Reynolds fascinating arc was he comes out of the gate in like legitimate movies.
Oh, and like Deliverance. Right. So good.
And everyone's like Redford, Newman, you know, he's one of these guys. And then he immediately just goes like, give me a mustache and a car.
Yeah. Can I be driving in every single movie I make? Yeah.
And Rentrack, that weird company that like polls movie theater owners and asks for the top 10 biggest box office draws of every year. He like holds the record for being number 1 5 or 6 years in a row for movies that made insane amounts of money that have not held up.
That you've never heard of. Called like Driving a Car.
He had 3 different car franchises, right? Yeah. But he like, had that arrogance and like spent money like he was going to be famous forever. And then by the 80s was already starring on a CBS sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's not in this movie.
He's not. And I think he had an ego that Nicholson didn't and that Beatty did, you know? Like,
I mean, the Beatty Dirk Diggler thing's amazing.
The fact that Beatty at that age, like late 60s, still was like, oh, but I'd play the young guy who fucks everybody. And Nicholson at this point in his career, when he still was like a viable leading man and could have been the guy who was like fighting to like play like co-lead and like, I mean, you look as good as it gets like 20 years later, where it's like he's 30 years older than Helen Hunt, you know? And you look at this.
It just hurt my head really
right, but you look at this and it's like, this guy's over the hill. And he's like, yeah, I'll play. It's a good part. Like, there's no sort of possessive, like, I need to hold on to my being the hot, young, cool guy. And then he leans into as much as possible. And this is one of his first, like, big supporting parts, where then he gets comfortable doing shit like Reds.
Well, Reds is before this.
This is before, okay.
Yeah, Reds is before this.
But that's, like, what's always been
a Warren Beatty
cool
movie.
About him is that he, like, is a big movie star, but also is like, if it's a good supporting part, I'll play it. Yeah, Jack Nicholson's cool.
Nick.
Jack
He likes the Lakers. I don't know if you know that.
No, you know what I heard, and this is hot gossip, and I probably shouldn't be saying this on mic, so Ben, maybe cut this out. I heard he likes wearing sunglasses.
but where?
Oh boy,
like outside, right?
Well,
during the day.
This is what's crazy about Jack. He's a wild
man.
man.
Everyone lean in. What's up?
He'll wear them in the front row of the Oscars.
That's badass.
Yeah. But you know why? Because the stars are so bright that night.
You're right. That's what it is.
Hollywood's biggest stars.
The wattage. Yes.
All right. So I cut all that out.
Great. Thank you.
It's too hot. Too hot. Deborah Winger has like just kind of come up as like the next great leading lady at this point, right?
Sure. Well, she'd been an Urban Cowboy,
right? And
then
Officer and a Gentleman was kind of her like America's sweetheart role, where it was like, here we go.
She rocks in both those movies. I don't know how you feel about An Officer and a Gentleman.
She rocks in all things, yes.
An Officer and a Gentleman is a sexy movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And then McClane was kind of at her like, she's overdue.
Yeah, when she won the Oscar, it's kind of nuts that she'd never won an Oscar. She's like
Right.
a 6-time nominee.
Right, and was in so many like big canonical films and had worked with all the like great directors, great
and she'd been in
co-stars.
the fucking Rat Pack.
Right.
Yeah.
She was like the one lady who like hung with the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Like she was like a legend. And so yeah, he gets these three people together in this movie where Shirley MacLaine is kind of playing my grandmother.
She's playing a
Griffin's revealing some personal details
a
right
well-to-do Texas society lady, I guess.
I don't want to accuse my grandmother of plagiarism because this movie did come out some years before I was born.
Sure.
But that was my grandmother's exact response when my mother told her she was pregnant.
Wow.
What's to get
How
an
can you
abortion?
do this? You're too young to make me a grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
And we were not allowed to call her grandma growing up. We had to call her Menu,
Okay.
which is a French gibberish word that she told us meant young and beautiful.
I also want everyone to know how important this story is to Griffin because I think he told this to me
Like
the
the
first
day
day
you
we
met?
met.
Yeah.
And then at least one more time subsequently.
I think our drunken
He's really upset
hotel
about it.
bar night in London, Val and I went deep on it.
Okay.
Val and I have deep conversations.
Sure.
They get smarter and smarter the more old fashions we drink.
Yeah, we get so intelligent when we're drunk. You have no idea.
People should be listening.
Yeah. But my grandmother is very similar to this, except she's the my grandmother's a Polish Jew from Brooklyn.
Sure.
Who then moved to Europe and was like, no, I've been a European socialite the whole
Right.
time.
Exactly.
She went to like
it's like
right. She was like classmates with Barbara Streisand at the same school in Brooklyn.
Sure.
And then was like, no, I have always been a lady of aristocracy. But she is like the European socialite version of the like Texan Southern Belle that Shirley MacLaine's playing in this. So like from the get-go, as someone who grew up around someone like that, every element of this character is so well done because it's so easy for it to tiptoe into farce. Especially when, like, that opening scene, we get it. Like, she's intense, but it's all in the name of her daughter, which I think the whole movie doesn't work if you don't have that as a prelude. Because otherwise you just be like, this woman is mean.
I mean,
yeah, right. She's mean for a good 20 minutes after that.
The scene where she tells her to basically have an abortion.
Yeah.
And not marry her husband.
And then when Deborah Winger suggests that she give her money.
Right.
What's the line where she says she gets very stressed or very nervous about money, and then her daughter's like, "That's okay. This will be too much for you," and just go.
Yeah.
And it's.
She's like, "Don't do it. It's not worth the stress it will bring you to give me money."
Yeah, exactly.
Even though clearly I have 3 children and cannot keep a roof over their heads right now.
Right. Which is the interesting thing is like, you know, they spend a good chunk of time in that like day before her wedding, day of her wedding, right? There's like maybe like 20 minutes where you get like introduced to Betsy, which that's another thing.
Patsy?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Patsy, her pal.
Patsy, her pot smoking pal.
Pats.
When they
Lisa Carroll.
They smoke some reefer.
The other thing I found out about the book is in the book, Hap has the affair with.
Shut up.
With her?
Yeah.
What?
That's so fucked up because in the book.
That's rude.
Okay, one of the things that really stands out to me about Patsy, she's a very.
She has her own like transformation.
She's a very dynamic character for being so tertiary. Is the
I
fact
also
that
said
she
Hap instead of Flap. I'm fucking up everyone's name.
fucking Flap.
Yeah.
She only wants the daughter. She only wants Melanie at the end.
Right.
She'll take her, and she's like genuinely upset when she is not given the daughter, but she has no interest in taking care of the son.
Right.
So wait, so he's having an affair with her
in the book.
Does she still want the baby?
I believe so. I should have done more research on the book.
Yeah, you're saying a lot of shit about the
I'm
book.
opening up a lot of yes. But
you
that's
were throwing
why
Patsy under the bus.
There are a couple moments where, like, when they first drive off to move, there's a weird lingering look between Flap and Patsy that Deborah Winger clocks, and at the end, when Flap starts crying at the funeral, he like does it to Patsy, and she puts her arm around him. And I think it was sort of like James L. Brooks was at least trying to imply that there was always like tension between the two of them.
Sure.
I guess I actually took that as being sort of tension in that kind of, best friend. You take care of her, don't fuck this up because everybody knows you're a fuck up kind of way.
And the betrayal at the end is weighing on him, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's far more interesting what they ended up landing on.
I mean, his other woman.
Janice.
Janice, yes.
Yeah.
She really amuses me. I like her. I like her 2 scenes.
When she leaves her daughter in the entryway to that building, that's the thing that distracted me in that entire scene when she chases her down in Nebraska, when they get to Nebraska.
The college.
And she just sort of like jams the girl in her stroller in the entryway and leaves her there.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are the things. But she's always in the background of that shot, so we know that she's safe.
Right.
We can always see her.
How old is Deborah Winger when they shot this movie? Because I cannot believe how well she plays having that many children.
She is 28 when the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So like 27.
And she doesn't have a kid until a couple years later because her pregnancy is what made her drop out of broadcast news.
She was married to Timothy Hutton.
Yeah.
For a few years. And then she married Arliss Howard.
Right.
Of the Lost World Jurassic Park.
That's another killer acting couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had... Oh, and she also dated Bob Kerrey, the governor of Nebraska, for a while.
And they met filming this.
They met filming this in Lincoln, Nebraska. Wow.
And I think he lost a foot in the war.
Bob Kerrey, who was president of your university back when you were there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of New School.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give Bob Kerrey some comedy points right now?
Shoot.
They met while she was filming Terms of Endearment.
Yeah.
Which I think caused some press hullabaloo because she was like newly a big star and she's dating the local politician. And he had lost a foot in the war. And his public comment on the relationship was, she swept me off my foot.
It's pretty good.
How did she not have babies with him?
I know.
He won the Medal of Honor. Bob Kerrey.
He also won getting to date Deborah Winger for several years.
He also
That's
won
the ultimate
10
Medal
comedy
of Honor.
points.
He won 10 comedy points. We just gave him 10 comedy points. Deborah Winger is she has fucking cartoon character eyes. It is insane like how big and expressive and powerful her eyes are, especially in this movie.
It's also why one of the things that I can't buy is when they give her cancer makeup in the end to like, we're going to try to make these look deep set.
She looks incredible.
And she already,
She just looks so alive constantly.
The one problem, or the one thing that's I expected this to be a wasting away movie with cancer for
she's
half
already
an
like
hour.
100 pounds dripping wet. What are you going to do?
That is true. But they basically are like, well, let's put dark circles around your eyes and we're just not going to point the camera at you when you die, which is a great artistic choice that we're going to make. But like also maybe you just don't look that sick no matter what we do to you.
It's like she didn't look that bad. She went so quickly.
Yeah, she went so quickly.
Can I read you an insane trivia fact from the IMDb page?
Uh-huh.
Deborah Winger behaved erratically on the set of this film because she was trying to get over a severe cocaine addiction.
Oh, well, it was the early 80s.
At one point, she and Shirley MacLaine got into a shoving match.
I wonder if that's what I'm reading, is that sort of like feral, naturalistic action. She's just
can't stop
fucking
moving.
high.
Yeah. She's always moving. Like when she's sort of like contorting her body in funny positions, like leaning down and moving
and everything is funny.
Everything's fun. Smiley and weird.
In a way that looks beautiful and spontaneous and unexpected. I mean, that's the thing I think about both of them, that the single maybe like shared quality between these two actresses is they're both completely unexpected in their performances, everything they do, every response they have, you know? But yeah, now I see how she might have just been high.
Like my favorite scene of hers is when they're in the bathroom and they have the shower running because the baby is sick.
Oh, yeah.
And the steam is rising. And she's just like, even though he's delivering devastating news to her, we have to like move, you know, because I got a job. And her baby is fucking sick and it's 3 a.m. She's so like energetic and alive anyway, and you buy it. Like she's so...
Yes,
you're making me question everything I feel about that performance.
No, look, I think...
Was it all manufactured? Was it all the coke?
You could give me all the coke in the world. I couldn't give this performance. It's not just coke.
Yeah, true.
Maybe that was a little special sauce in what was going on here. And also, she's trying to kick it at this point. I mean, it's not even she's on that much coke. It's like, this is her trying to get off of it.
I'm sorry, have you read some of the other trivia on this page?
Very bizarre.
Is it also going to ruin the movie for me?
No.
Lithgow shot his role in 3 days during a break from Footloose. 3 days he shot this
3
movie
days.
in.
Got an Oscar nomination.
That's impressive.
He got an Oscar nomination?
He did, which is kind of bizarre.
Really? It's a surprising nomination because he doesn't dominate at all. I mean, obviously he's a supporting actor, but still.
I would have given it to Daniels over
I was going to say,
Lithgow.
how does Daniels feel about that?
Right. Not happy. I've read many interviews with him where he said that he was fucking angry because literally every other actor got nominated.
That is true.
It got 4 nominations.
I think he's my number 5 if I'm ranking these performances.
Daniels is your 5?
Yeah.
I think Daniels is my 4. I would put him ahead of Lithgow.
I really like Lithgow. Like you were saying earlier, there's something magical about him in such a short period of time.
But it's also the character. I mean, that's the thing.
It's the character.
Jeff, I mean...
And people probably didn't like Daniels because of his character.
Well, I don't even mean they don't like him because of the character. I meant the fact that, like, Jeff Daniels does beautiful work with that character, but he's not going to do something that's more interesting than an inherently more interesting character, which Lithgow had, you know?
He is a character
so
who
don't
conforms
pick
to your
Labradors if you want an award, basically.
They wanted Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee Curtis to play the mother-daughter. That makes, that's you're casting the actual mother-daughter. Jack Nicholson would do crazy things like show up practically naked on set, and almost all their scenes were improvised. Like, this is nuts.
It also said that, James L. Brooks would play all these, like, mental games. Like, this feels like a very light, fun, like, spontaneous movie. And apparently they were shoving each other.
It's an
going through
film.
withdrawal. Right. The other crazy fact here is Jennifer Jones bought the book rights for this movie because she wanted to make it as a vehicle for herself.
Okay.
Her husband, Norton Simon, a millionaire,
sure,
then hired James L. Brooks to write the screenplay, I think, off of Starting Over.
Right.
And James L. Brooks was like, I really want to make this. I want to direct it. I think it should be Shirley MacLaine instead.
Right.
Or just a
Someone
different
else.
actress.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So he had to convince Paramount to buy them out. And then he like thanked her in all of his Oscar speeches.
Right.
For letting him make the movie. But it's like, this film sounds like this crazy torturous process. John Lithgow was replacing someone who is unsighted who dropped out while they were filming. That's why it was like, we need someone quickly. Footloose was filming simultaneously. We can get Lithgow for a weekend. Like, it's nuts, but then this movie feels so effortless.
Yeah.
Like, it's very messy, but that's the appeal of the movie, is that it just feels like very kind of, this movie feels like breathing. It's just like human behavior.
Right.
What was the thing I was going to say? Flap. That's what I was going to say. I was just going to say flap. Flap 4-5.
Flap. So the plot, they live.
Yeah.
She lives in Iowa with her husband.
Oh, I know.
Mom lives in Texas and
I know
Houston.
the thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
The reason I want to spotlight, I want to find out how young Deborah Winger was in this.
Yeah. Because she has so many children.
And just, she nails this kind of like very unconscious physical multitasking that mothers have, where it's like what you're talking about in the shower scene, where it's just like, I can rock a baby and do 6 other things and not have to look at it. Like when we had our friend Katie Rich on the show.
And she gave an incredible performance in the studio.
Right. Like podcasting with us while like tending to a crying baby. And it was just like, you're not even looking at it. Like it's just like automatic at this point.
Well, and even her losing her temper when she meets John Lithgow in the parking lot.
Right, with the kids.
That sort of unself-conscious anger with the kid. But also, this leads me to the other thing that I love about it is how realistic the performances of the boys are. The older, just snotty little boy.
Snotty older boy, and then like the sensitive younger boy too.
And he doesn't want to talk. In the end, there's nothing wise about these children. There's nothing cynical about these children. Like it's incredibly realistic what she was working with as well.
It's interesting because he makes a lot of movies with children in them.
Yeah.
And the performances vary wildly. Like
this is the one where the kids feel like real kids.
But this is the one where the kids feel like real kids. I think that Sarah Steele in Spanglish is the only other one who feels like a real kid.
Which Sarah Steele is fighting really hard to make.
She's a good actress.
Right.
Like, whereas when you think of like the As Good as It Gets kid, or I'll Do Anything kid, like those are not good kids.
The little kids at the beginning of Broadcast News are really good.
Yes, sure.
But the thing that is so impressive about this movie is it is so unconcerned with making the characters likable because it's just like simultaneously awful things and wonderful things. Like he's just constantly just presenting these people in their full messiness.
Yeah.
Which is why it feels like something like Boyhood or Moonlight, where it's just like, here's just chronicling a life. And you feel like this movie could just go on for like 6 hours and just continue showing these people at different periods.
Sure.
The way that like Lithgow and Nicholson like come in and then come out, you know?
This would be a TV show now.
100%.
Right? If you pitch this.
Yeah. 6-part miniseries.
Right. I want to do an adaptation of this McMurtry novel. Great.
Right.
Like, I can't wait to make this a TV show.
But that's why like the cancer almost weirdly functions, even now when the movie is known as a cancer movie. It certainly wasn't sold that way when it came out. But even now it functions as like kind of a twist ending because it's sort of like Titanic, where it's like, here's a movie about like two people that you're going to fall in love with for like all their strengths and all their weaknesses. And at the end, one of them is going to die.
And it's not the one you might predict. Like, you know, it's the younger one who has much more of a life.
Also, if like you go into a movie expecting a cancer movie, you're braced for like, I'm going to have to lose somebody. Like I'm going to watch them suffer.
You're also braced for illness, which this movie doesn't have a lot of. Like,
which is like
you
just
say,
how
it's basically out of nowhere.
life happens. Like people who live like rich, complicated lives and have different relationships and different periods, then suddenly get diagnosed with illnesses and then die. And that's like the most tragic thing in the world.
Right.
And this movie just makes you live with her for like an hour and 50 minutes. And then it's just like completely random and sudden.
Well, and it's not a device in her character development. You know, it doesn't serve to give her any kind of meaning or change her or anyone around her in any way. Because it doesn't. Nobody changed it. It is that very, you know, slice of life thing of like, this doesn't mean anything. None of it meant anything.
And also, the movie is moving at such a clip and how it jumps ahead in time that at the moment they diagnose her, you're like, wait, but we have like 30 more years to go. What are you talking about? Like, you're so ready to see the rest of her life. And there's no meaning to the fact that it ends then. She doesn't get to like close anything. It doesn't help anyone else come to any greater understanding of themselves or their relationship to her.
And that's what's great.
Yeah.
It's not cancer as wisdom giver or something. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a movie about like how death affects people by making it about her life and then having the death just be a fucking awful thing.
Well, and it's also the thing about Shirley MacLaine that she's kind of constantly plagued by that parental fear of losing her from that first scene.
Yes.
And there was nothing she could do to prevent it.
No.
Right. At the end, it's totally cruel and meaningless.
Right. And for somebody who's completely afraid of losing their child, she also characterizes their relationship as warring and fighting all the time.
Yeah.
That beautiful scene where she's like, I never thought we were fighting.
And her kid's like, I didn't think we were fighting. But also, you know, and then look, MacLaine is this is another movie, like you say, it's a cancer movie. This is also a movie where you think of it as like, oh, it's MacLaine playing this like big mom character. Right. Whereas it's not. Like, it's an incredibly restrained performance.
Yes.
Her big moments are things like where she's give it the shot scene.
Yeah.
Where that's where she's just like, can't I help in this situation? And there's, you know, no help that she can provide except screaming at nurses to give her a shot.
I mean, all the big emotional outbursts in this movie work because they're playing against the instinct of big Oscar-y scenes.
Like, her reaction to Nicholson breaking up with her is like staggering. Like, I love every choice she makes, like where she could have done like, you know, Shirley MacLaine in Postcards from the Edge.
Right.
Like, you know, which is a performance I really enjoy. But
they always do the opposite of how you think a movie character would respond in those circumstances.
Yes.
Like, there's a weird, surprising, funny response. James L. Brooks said the reason he cast her was she was the one actress who thought it was a comedy.
Wow.
And he felt like it was only going to work. I mean, this speaks to what you were saying about, like, I can't remember if this was before we started recording.
I think the thing about there's two co-leads where they're acting
movies.
Like they're in completely different films, and it works.
And it works.
Right.
Because that defines the relationship between this mother and daughter, is they don't speak the same language, and they have completely different experiences of their relationship and their realities.
And they live in different worlds. Like, literally, what they see around them is completely different. They have, like, different glasses on.
Shirley MacLaine experiences no hardship at all in her world, and yet she's like plagued by this sense of hardship and victimhood.
Right. And Deborah Winger has the opposite. Like, she views everything as being very positive.
Right.
Despite the struggles around her. But I think that is a key to this movie working, is that you have someone like MacLaine who's playing into the comedy of the character and the situations rather than playing up the drama, which would probably make the movie like too fucking heavy to bear.
Well, and again, nobody's playing up the drama. Like, Deborah Winger's not approaching it from a comedic perspective, but she's a character, like we were saying before, it's like is so full of energy and humor, and she laughs in response to everything.
Yeah.
Even the tough scenes to watch, like the shopping, the supermarket scene, which is like my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
I like how that scene is kind of funny. Like, when she starts adding up and the lady's like, we're going in the wrong direction.
She just gives them the candy bars so defiantly. He's like, you're a very rude person.
And the kid's like, can't we like lose this with the my doll? And she's like, no, like that stays.
But that's also like, that's Lithgow's big selling point is like, he noticed.
Right.
Like Flap is always like so caught up in like his classes. His
I also like that he
career.
introduces himself as like, I just declined your application for a second mortgage.
It's like, thank you for that exposition in your introduction.
Right.
You just gave us everything we need to know.
But it's also like, here's the guy who's like the face of her current problems.
Yes, right.
Who he also is like, but I'm with you.
Right.
I just can't do anything about it. Ding dong.
Oh, okay. Yes, get the door, Griffin.
Get the door.
Oh my God.
David. Are you David Sims?
That's me.
Roll these dice for me.
Okay, sure. I don't know.
4. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe.
Ben, what's happening?
I don't know who are you?
I'm trying to get to the kitchen for a snack, but I can't wake Daddy.
You're the board game character from Can't Wake Daddy. Don't Wake Daddy?
I'm the red kid.
It's great to meet you.
Try
I'm a
not to wake Daddy.
longtime fan.
All I want is a midnight brisket.
A midnight brisket.
My favorite meal is a midnight brisket. But the problem is my daddy has such a bad mattress that he wakes up. If I don't walk like this, David, roll the die again.
Oh, here we go.
1. Tip.
You only got a 1 on that one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You still hold on to the other die. Can you roll it?
Yeah, there you go.
1. Tip.
So your dad, he wakes easily?
Constantly.
Do you think his problem is that his mattress wasn't perfectly designed for him?
Yeah, I mean, it was almost designed to not support sleep. It's a bag of rocks.
All right. Well, I think you could make an upgrade.
What?
From our friends at Casper.
Okay.
Who make mattresses that are engineered to soothe and cradle your natural geometry.
What about my dad's natural geometry?
Well, your dad, like most humans, I'm assuming, spends 1/3 of his life sleeping.
More than that. I'd say probably 4/5.
So he should be comfortable.
Yeah, he really should, because right now I'm starving. I can never eat.
So what if he could get an affordable mattress that is well made and it doesn't cost that much because Casper cuts out the middleman and sells directly to him?
Okay, look, here's the deal, though. I'd have to sneak this past my father.
Oh, right, because you can't wake him.
I can't wake him.
Is he never awake?
He's never awake.
Okay, so it's 5/5.
Yeah, I was trying to do him a little bit of a favor, but he's literally sleeping all of the time.
Do you think he would care that these mattresses are designed, developed, and assembled in the United States?
He would love that, but this is my biggest concern.
Uh-huh.
There's literally one spot that my father doesn't look.
Okay.
The spot I'm trying to get to at the end of the board.
Right.
Which is a mini fridge.
Right. And so
is there any way I could hide this mattress behind the mini fridge before I did the Indiana Jones style bait and switch?
Well, some might say that this mattress is delivered in a how did they do that size box?
What? Watch your volume also a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And roughly a mini fridge size.
Oh my God.
And it's free shipping and returns in the US and Canada.
That's a good deal. I guess I have to pay full price for the rest of it, right?
No, you can be sure of your purchase with a Casper's 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial. And I've got one myself.
You're David Sims?
I sleep on a Casper mattress.
Oh my God.
And any of our listeners, including your dad, he listens, right?
I mean, yes. He plays it as white noise while he's trying to stay asleep.
Can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/check.
Oh, so I have to check to make sure I type in casper.com?
No. You can go to casper.com/check and use check at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. And get $50 towards any mattress purchase.
That sounds incredible. By the way, Valorie, I love the following. Thank you. I just have to watch it with subtitles.
Why?
Because my daddy is always sleeping.
Because.
Yeah, can you roll these dice quickly?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got a 500.
Wow. Good job, Valorie.
Yeah,
I know.
Let me tiptoe out of here.
All right. Well, before you leave,
Let me tiptoe back.
I just want I just want to tell you, start sleeping ahead with the curve with Casper.
Just a little quieter.
$50 towards any mattress purchase. Casper.com/check. Use promo code check at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, now will you roll these die?
Yes.
Now I only got a 4.
Oh,
I mean, you
well.
really kind of screwed me.
All right. Well, tiptoe over to the door there.
Wow, God.
I don't know how to feel.
What an incredible occurrence.
That was great.
Unbelievable.
Thank you, Griffin.
Don't thank me. Thank Daddy. Just not too loudly.
Thank you, Ben, for not murdering anyone with a knife during that.
Yep. Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you, Daddy. Daddy's dead.
Yeah, don't wake Daddy.
Yeah.
Forgot about that one.
Very popular.
Remember when he would wake up in the commercial, though, and he'd be like, he's like a
looked
little
furious.
scary.
Yeah, and his sleeping cap would literally fly off of his head.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
The movie Terms of Endearment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Lithgow.
Has a lot of
The
bed
Lithgow
scenes.
Meeting in the grocery store.
His exposition introduction.
Yes.
And then their 3 days of filming affair.
Mm-hmm. Which, because of the way the movie jumps, you can't tell if they've started sleeping together already. And then he makes it clear, like, we're just contemplating sin. Like, we're getting lunch a lot and holding hands and not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But she already, at this point, kind of suspects that Flap might be cheating on her.
She suspects it from early on. I'm onto you. There's the I'm onto you scene.
Well, yeah, and I think it's established pretty early on that she harbors a lot of jealousy about that.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's, like, we don't know whether or not she's just being paranoid. So it almost feels like a sort of, like, I don't know, some kind of, like, security choice on her part to just have somebody on the side as well.
She's also, like, her entire life, since marriage, she's had to totally bend around what Flap wants to do, where he wants to live.
Yeah.
And he's barely there as a father. And she just keeps on getting more kids and having to, like, carry them simultaneously.
Oh, yeah, they have the moment where she goes out of town to New York, and he's like, well, what about the kids? And it's that idea of a father babysitting his own children for 2 days, and he has no idea what he's doing. And then even the fact that it becomes a decision they have to make of where will the kids go, which I have to just sit there and process for a while when I'm watching the film. And it's the right decision. Like, it's great they thought of that.
And he doesn't really fight it. Like, that's the thing. He, like, finds it very depressing, but it's like, I can't argue.
He says, what does he say? I never thought I'd be the kind of man who gives up his kids.
Yeah.
It's like, we did.
Yeah.
We did this whole movie.
Yeah. Insane.
He also, his character strikes me as not being a good English professor.
No, he's middling.
He's a middling, kind of going to bad small colleges.
Yeah.
Which Shirley MacLaine
I think
totally
he's in it for the girls a little bit.
Yeah.
And the tweed, the
elbow patches.
Elbow patches.
Yeah,
He loves
all about
those.
the elbow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you're an educated white man in Texas in the 80s. You could be doing better than this if you want to be doing better than this.
It's not even it's the 70s. This is a
70s,
period.
yeah.
79 is
Yeah.
when most of it,
it's
the main last
So there's no
years
reason
was
he's not the president of a university. Right?
right.
Yeah, he should be the mayor of Houston.
But MacLaine calls it, like, I love that too, that scene going back where she tells her not to marry Flap. And Deborah Winger is like, so you're just gonna, I don't think you should come to my wedding if you feel that way. And she's like, great, that's a great relief for me. Thank you for that permission. I agree. I felt hypocritical.
She's kind of stoned. She just walks up. My mother isn't going to my wedding.
Right.
It's really funny.
Right. But it's like,
this whole movie is about, I mean, thematically, it's about people and their limitations and everybody just accepting one another with their limitations. Like, people act horrifically to one another.
Yes, they do.
Nobody cuts anyone off.
Right, which I love. There's never estrangement. I mean, the closest you have to an estrangement is Nicholson and MacLaine breaking up for many years, obviously.
But then he's still
he's
there
around
for her, which is weird because that's the one thing he didn't want to have in the relationship, right? Was like he wanted the sex without having the obligation. As
right, but isn't that like he's just a fucking idiot who's like, well, I don't want the obligation, but I do feel very strongly about you.
Well,
I can't imagine how these things would be connected.
And he has a hero narrative too. He needs to show up there in Nebraska when she's in the hospital. He's an astronaut.
Yeah, he thinks of himself as a hero.
Can we talk about his shrine in the kitchen?
So
of all places?
The main thing we haven't talked about is MacLaine and Nicholson's like romance, and yes, his shrine, his house.
You
is
gotta
like,
use what you got.
It's like on the dishwasher and things. Like it's every surface in the kitchen.
It's a little tacky.
Was 150 people and I'm one of them.
106.
It's the funniest thing. It's the funniest choice as occupation. He's a bum astronaut, like womanizing astronaut. That is so funny.
And like you give James L. Brooks all his credit for being like, oh, what a brilliant idea of a character who has never existed in American storytelling up until this point. Like,
and also he's like,
that's an
what's in
interesting guy.
Houston? Oil, NASA. Like, right? Like, I mean, like that's what you think of in Houston.
And the sort of like mythology is that a lot of American astronauts had like drinking problems and depression afterwards because they kind of like could never get over it. Like they felt like they peaked. And this is the opposite, who's a guy who's just like, I'm a fucking astronaut.
It's as if he never really wanted to be an astronaut. Right. He just did it because he's like, I will get laid forever, no matter how fat I get.
Yeah.
Right. Like most astronauts can't get over not being an astronaut anymore, and he only wanted to be a post-astronaut.
Exactly.
Like,
he's like, I just got to do it once. I just got to get up there one time.
Yeah.
It is really funny to me that he beat... I think he was an Oscar winner for this performance.
Yeah.
He beat Sam Shepard in The Right Stuff. Who is like
interesting?
You know what I mean? Like who is playing like the real cowboy of that movie, and like maybe one day would turn into a Jack Nicholson type.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sam Shepard should have won that year, though. Sorry,
Nicholson is just so much fucking fun in this movie.
So fun. I mean,
it is just
great.
like such an entertaining performance.
I get really disturbed by the way he chews the oysters, though, when they go to lunch. He chews the shit out of those oysters. You shouldn't. And you can see them in his mouth. It's a distracting moment for me.
That first date is there's a lot there because there's her dress, which is wild.
So much.
Well, also
her wig.
The setup of
she's got some wigs.
Such a good structural joke about how the movie has been jumping ahead in time at that point.
Right, where she's finally like, you know what? I'll take you up on that date, and he's like, that was like 6 years ago. What are you talking about?
Like the movie acknowledges that only 5 minutes have passed.
15% more paunch.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's also just so deflated by the time that he opens that door. Like the life has left his face. He's so much grayer. We can tell.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really age in this movie, does she?
Not really.
No.
That's true. Yeah, no. She's just Shirley MacLaine.
Because she's got that same like organza dress going on.
And she spent a lot of time and effort and money maintaining one look for decades. Right. You know, it's
draping a coat over her shoulders.
Yeah. So, I mean, they finally go out for lunch as her means to escape the weird Three Stooges of suitors.
Right. Who are constantly having arguments and asking her how old she really is.
That's the reason she leaves. It's not the suitors. It's because one of them calls her out about lying about her age.
Yes, who is her physician, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
like that's the reason he's calling her out.
Which my grandmother has...
There's a weird conflict of interest going on in that room.
Very much so.
My grandmother has false ages on her legal documents.
Good for
which
her.
is a felony.
Is she still with us? Is this the grandmother who's still with us? Okay.
Probably shouldn't say that on air.
Okay.
What's her Twitter handle?
Sure. It is @RealDonaldTrump.
So they go on this date. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he offers her oysters. It's very. He drives with the top down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A real woman comes prepared.
Yeah, right.
And then hard cut to her like fighting the elements.
They have this sort of charged lunch where he's like, I recommend that you drink a lot if you want to hang out with me.
Right. But the scene where what's the scene? Is it before this lunch, or is it when the first time he asks her to be the date to the hypothetical dinner that got canceled, where he's like, well, if you're already down, then why don't we just go straight to liftoff?
Yeah, I think that's the 6 years, 5 minutes before.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's his opening proposition,
right.
Which maybe puts her off for about 6-ish years.
Yeah.
Right.
But then they get to dinner, and he immediately, like, once again, is just like, let's just get through this. Or not even dinner, it's lunch. It's an afternoon date.
What I love about
he's like, let's rush through this to get to the sex part.
He is so bad at all of that when she literally calls him and says, come look at my painting in my bedroom, right, at night.
Right.
Even that, he's like, I have to look at your painting. You know, he sort of like weighs it.
I have to do anything. Because he made a huge amount of effort. Like, he did get there. He got dressed.
He wears his, like, country club tie or whatever.
And she kind of tries to play along because she has her little, like, coquettish prepared line about what, when little boys are impatient, they don't get dessert.
Yes.
She's trying real hard to play along with that for a moment.
All the lines, right?
Yeah,
like, she knows how to, how you're supposed to flirt,
but
I guess,
he's
in
not
this sort of society
one
way.
for like double entendres or any sort of seduction. Right, it's lead in the pencil. But I also love like his introduction when she sees him out the window with the two women in his car. He's not even, it's not working with them. And these women are like 22. Like, you almost could go like, well, I guess he gets away with this bullshit because he's usually dating women like a third of his age. But you go like, no, everyone sees through his bullshit.
The very first one, I think, she sees him the very first time she sees him, it's working.
Yeah.
Because that's when he's missing the garbage can and stuff to empty the
bottle.
Right,
that's very funny.
And one of the women comes back into the house and we don't see, like, we don't see the scene, we see it from her perspective.
Yeah.
And he brings her inside. But then the next time we see him with two young women, he's in the car.
He's like, come on.
So it did work at one point.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just working less and less. They're a very age appropriate couple. He is, I think, 3 years younger than her.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
So it's just like him and Helen Hunt.
Yeah, exactly. I think Helen Hunt is playing 10 years older than him in As Good as It Gets, right?
That's right. That's correct. Yes.
But they start this weird relationship. He like very quickly is like, I date other women.
Right.
And it's like, just fucking...
he can't chill out.
Be romantic for one fucking second.
I immediately just thought of As Good as It Gets as being in like the same universe, and Helen Hunt is the granddaughter at the end.
Jeez.
Hey.
Can we do the math on that?
The man's reputation for fucking younger women is so immense that Nancy Meyers made a whole movie about it.
Yeah.
Like, that is what Something's Gotta Give is.
Right. There is that moment at the end of
like,
As Good as
the
It Gets.
ludicrous premise of Something's Gotta Give is, what if Jack Nicholson fell in love with a woman his own age? Like, that's like the joke.
But there is that moment at the end of As Good as It Gets where he goes to Helen Hunt's apartment and Shirley Knight's there, and you're just like, he should just start dating the mom.
Yeah.
And so I wish like he looked and was like, oh, a woman my age.
Right.
We have more to talk about.
He's got some other problems.
He's got some other issues. Yes. But yeah, it's like they form this relationship where I do like that even though stuff is obviously tense between Winger and McClane, they do have this sort of open dialogue where like Winger is able to like criticize her mother and talk about like the things that she's not acknowling about herself.
Valorie said, like, there's never an estrangement. Like, they might say things to each other that are crazy sometimes.
Well,
but,
and
like,
the closest thing to an estrangement was when she didn't talk to her for 3 weeks after the wedding, or so she wouldn't answer the phone.
Right.
And then all Shirley MacLaine really needs to do is just like barge through with what's going on in her life and interest Deborah Winger enough that she'll just forgive her because she wants to know what's happening in Houston.
Right. Which it's nice then when that's flipped where Winger calls and just won't stop talking and McClane has to be like, I'm in bed with the astronaut. I can't talk right now.
For the one time she can't talk.
The one time she can't talk.
But it's like that's that one time where she calls and Deborah Winger's like, I'm sorry, Mom. Like, I'm putting the kids in, they're getting ready. And she's like, no, I've called you ready to have a conversation.
Right, yeah.
Like, you're going to talk to me right now.
They do have this nice kind of relationship, though, where they, like, meet in the middle. And at some points the movie does, it feels like, reduce it to, like, oh, God, it's been way too long since this broad got laid. Yeah. But I also feel like it's something about the fact that it's like, here are two people who are equally difficult in different ways, but they're, like, willing to call each other out on bullshit. Because they both have so many weird, like, defensive walls built up around their personalities and how they want people to perceive them, you know?
Well, they call each other on their bullshit because they essentially also will accept each other unconditionally for their bullshit. So there's no reason not to say something about it.
Right, which is kind of beautiful. And, like, even at the end of the movie, it's like, maybe they weren't supposed to date, but they're, like, good people to have in each other's lives, you know?
I think the sex thing goes beyond, like, she needs to get laid or whatever as well. It's also, like, finally, she's like, oh, I get why you married the idiot. This is fun. Right. Like, I see this. Like, I maybe I didn't have that perspective before.
And also letting another person into her life.
Right.
Like, those three suitors are like, you know, the movie implies at that point that they've been, like, following her around for, like, 7 years. And she lets them, like, kiss the ring and then just sit at the table, like, groveling.
Well, and I mean, if you go into it, like, obviously we never see her relationship with her husband with...
with Albert Brooks. He voices the husband.
Yes.
But there is that feeling that it's the kind of relationship wherein she never was intimate in an emotional way or even like truly present in a physical way, obviously, with her husband. So she gave all of that intimacy to her daughter.
Yes.
And then it was asked of her even after she moved away. So it's like she needed somebody else to sort of serve that purpose and be a connection that's actually in physical proximity to her. And so she picks literally the closest person in physical proximity to her. It's like, you're there. You were so fucked up and I hate everything about you, but you're next door.
You're next door.
So
that's his one point when he's breaking up with her where I'm like, he's got a point there where he's like, we literally live next to each other. It's a little weird. Like, and it's like, that would be weird. Don't date your neighbor. That's a good call, right? Yeah. Don't date your neighbor. I know one person who dated her neighbor. It was a disaster. It was a very bad idea.
He still clearly like can't get over what he respects about her as a person.
Yeah.
Even if it stops him from being able to commit to dating her seriously.
Right.
Like, you can tell that he appreciates her and recognizes how much she makes him want to be a better man.
Oh, boy.
You just bored him that much with that
I
really
line.
No, I'm just tired, guys.
Yeah.
But
TGIF.
But yeah, I mean,
going
back to
what
what
I was saying,
buddy?
I'm
pausing for this.
Ben and David just dabbed.
9 to 5ers, baby.
They just dabbed really hard.
Yeah.
But it's that beautiful thing about the relationship between Winger and McClane, where we were talking about that they will call each other out on things.
Yeah.
And then you have the moment with the grandson when I can't listen to you criticize your mother anymore, and she hits.
And
she slaps the shit out of him.
And it references something Winger says earlier, where she says, "Don't make me hit you in public."
Right.
To her son.
Yeah.
And it's maybe my favorite moment of Brooks as a pure visual filmmaker, because the movies have these kind of like locked off, like occasionally there's a little camera movement, but a lot locked off, like wide shots or two shots of people in long takes. And there's like a nice kind of like, you know, somber walking out of the hospital, her with the children, sort of like master shot. And then when he says that, McClane slaps him and the kid runs away, the camera starts like chasing after them. Like it's fucking The Bourne Identity. And it like gets right in their face to when like McClane grabs him.
Right.
And it's like such a vital moment of just like...
She slaps him, he slaps her back, and she slaps him again being like, I don't want to do this, but you know, you can't hit me. And you can't criticize your mother.
Right.
And then she just starts aggressively kissing him to like button that physical interaction.
See, that's the thing I think this movie is ultimately about, is like how contradictory human behavior can be to human emotions. Like it's all these weird responses to situations that movies usually present as being cut and dry.
Well, it's because movies are always trying to find meaning in them, and that's what makes this different. Is there isn't a meaning in the narrative. You're not getting to some point or learning something. You know, they don't get anywhere. I mean, yes, Shirley MacLaine grows. I don't know. It's a discussion we had whether or not Winger grows much as a character.
I don't know.
She has less room. She kind of starts out
right. She's shackled, or however you want to put it. She's like locked into this.
I think she starts out kind of preternaturally wise and positive, and then like, she just physically ages into that being appropriate.
Well, and also, but again, it's what's so appealing about her. Obviously, early on, is she's so world wise, but then she's sort of stuck in zero, you know, for a lot of the movie.
Right.
But it doesn't impact
the tragedy
her
of this character who you feel like never gets to live the life that she maybe could live.
Right.
Except then you see her in New York.
Well, that's
and her interaction with those
I
women.
want to talk about the New York section, because that's where I think you really sense
it's also the
growth.
80s. Let's not forget.
Oh, it's making a real commentary about women
Brooks
in the 80s.
Brooks is taking out his sniper rifle.
We'll make a movie about women, but they're all going to be housewives, and they're all going to be in the Midwest or the South. When we get to those coastal elite working women who don't have babies and talk about their yeast infections at lunch.
Monsters. Evil
harpies.
Yes. All shoulder pads and short haircuts.
But Patsy's
Robert Palmer video.
Made one of them. Now she's going to take her daughter and turn Melanie into one of those evil
true,
New York
Patsy
bitches.
with the short hair.
You get to that section where she starts like fully verbalizing how she feels being around these women, and you're like, she's not someone who just settled for something and doesn't think about it. She has full awareness of the life she has chosen for herself, what life she could be living otherwise, why she's happy in her world, you know, despite struggles.
Yeah, I never sense that she's shackled.
No.
Really. I mean,
it's
she
the
doesn't
Nebraska
have choices.
move that feels hard.
She doesn't get choices.
She's good in Iowa. Like, I feel like she's happy in that house, even if it's tough to afford. It's a nice looking house, honestly. But it's the Nebraska move where my girlfriend was like, she's not going to move to Nebraska. She was really annoyed about that.
When she's left him.
And packs the whole house.
Yeah. It's not even just he made this decision because he's the breadwinner and therefore that's where they're going. It's like,
and then Janice is there. Fucking Janice.
And also,
who responds to, are you having an affair with, like, it's like someone who like runs a basketball team being asked if he's trading a player. Where he's like, you know, there's conversations that need to be had, and I can't really talk about this right now. You know what I mean?
Any feelings you might be having are valid.
That's incredible.
Also, she's supposed, I mean, I don't know, we could look at the actresses, but she's supposed to be a grad student who's significantly younger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
She does not. She could be one of those New York bitches, like, working in...
Daniels does not age. You know what I mean? Like, we're saying, like, Winger, like, is just as plausible as a 21-year-old and is a 37-year-old. Like, Daniels always looks like he's 24 years old.
But I like that because he's kind of like a fucking man boy. Like, the idea is he probably still behaved the exact same way when he's 60.
He's wearing the same elbow pad coat. He's wearing the same haircut. Like, nothing's changed about him at all.
It's like the childhood version of English professor. Like, this is what I'm going to be like when I'm a grown-up. And he just stays playing that role. Which
Girls
is like,
will be impressed with books.
Right, which is like the certain types of people who go to teach at college for the rest of their life because they constantly want to be idolized by 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, you know?
Yeah.
Gross people, I call them. But then, okay, so then like the big hammer drops.
Yeah, well, I mean, we basically talked about it. Like, we're done. I mean, honestly, like
Cancer
in terms of,
is not the point of this movie.
Happens an hour and 45 minutes in.
Sure, it's a 2-hour, 10-minute movie. Yeah.
Right, and it's sort of like thrown off.
And first, it's like, oh, there's a cyst, oh, whatever. You don't wash well.
You never knew how to wash.
Yeah.
It's like, whose fault is that? Seriously, I mean, come on.
And like, as she starts to talk about it with everyone refuses to acknowledge that they're upset and scared.
Yes.
Like her especially. When like the malignant call is like very like, well, I'm malignant.
Right. None of
Patsy's the most upset person.
Yes.
Not those scenes where it's like lots and lots of scenes with doctors where we're understanding the various things. You know, it's just it's all just sort of happening
it's
really
like,
fast.
oh, you have some lumps. No, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And then she seems to find out the information really quickly.
Very
as well.
quickly. Yeah.
This movie cuts out all the shoe leather.
Yeah,
like it only gives
does.
you the scenes that matter emotionally. It doesn't give you any expository scenes where it's like, here's setting up the third check-in.
Yeah.
Like you find out it's terminal, you know, when it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. You don't get the scene where they're like, there's nothing we can do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's brutal. There's a moment that kills me at the end. Both from, I find it weirdly the most emotionally affecting thing in the movie. And I also just think it's a stunning piece of filmmaking and acting and all around just sort of like humanist storytelling. That really shows the difference between like a
what moment?
She's there.
Sure.
Ask the kids to come in.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes. This is the moment that gets me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. And it's one shot of her in bed, stays there in silence while we're waiting for the kids to come in, and she adjusts the hospital bed down to their height with no sort of like sadness.
She
She's
takes
just sort
off the
of
makeup
looking
too.
ahead.
Like Patsy's just been doing her makeup. She takes it off, and then she gets lower.
Because she's all sort of red cheeked and
But
New York lady.
Yeah. The unceremonial just lowering of the bed without any like, you know, you don't cut into a close up of her going like, you know?
This is true.
And then she just goes about it. And she just has to so matter-of-factly say to them, like, look, I'm not going to make it. I understand you hate me now.
Right, and that's the thing where
God,
she also needs
speech about like someday you're gonna feel
she needs
bad.
to address their future emotions about this very moment.
Right.
And she doesn't really address the younger one because she knows he's not going to have as much memory of it, and his response is kind of, you know, quote unquote appropriate.
It is so unsentimental. It's like objective based. Like, here's what I need to tell you.
Right.
And then I think that went really well, don't you?
That's the part where I start crying. I think also the younger kid, who I just want to point out is played by an actor called Huckleberry Fox,
yes,
which is a fantastic name. Is more her, you know, like I feel like they have a little more of a connection throughout the movie. Like they get each other.
Yeah.
That kid gets it. He wants to help in various scenes. Like, you know, he's a little more, whereas like the older kid's a little more rebellious, a little more standoffish. He's the older kid.
And he was also really independent when he was depicted younger by that younger actor. It's like
there's that shot of him going out of the house.
Yeah.
And just sitting down.
I love that.
Where you're like, is something about to happen? Like, is he in trouble? Like, and she just sort of sits on the step.
The thank you for saving our marriage scene, which is so good all in. Like everything about
what
that
a good
scene.
movie.
Well, I was saying, there's this thing about it too. It's like we talk about her as a mother, but one of the things that I think is really radical about it as well, that, again, 35 years ago, is her children are not the central figures in her emotional world.
Right.
And even in their family, it's about her and her husband, and they are sort of spokes on that wheel who are affected. But ultimately, they kind of have to, they're responsible for themselves, you know?
Being a mother is kind of treated like her career.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is her career arc.
But then but then what sets off Shirley MacLaine is when he says that their mother was always too lazy to look into cubs.
Right.
Was like, she had one, you know, this idea of she had one job.
Right.
Yeah.
But she still didn't even do those things when, of course, we know that like she probably couldn't afford all that stuff.
Right.
And this movie is so good at leaving stuff unsaid because, and it would have been earned at this point, but he gets brownie points for not doing it when she runs back, grabs him, and says, I can't listen to you talk about your mother that way.
Right.
Not now. I was like, here's going to be the big Oscar speech. Where she goes like, you don't know what your mother did for you.
Right.
And here's a 3-page monologue. And instead, it's these characters who can't fucking verbalize themselves. You know, they can't verbalize all the things. But she does,
because she verbalizes exactly what she actually needs in that immediate moment.
There's an economy
which is just
of language. Yeah.
I cannot have you criticizing her right now. And it doesn't require a speech. Like, he's not in any position to be taught anything. She's not in any position to give a speech about it.
Yeah. But
she can identify her immediate emotional need, and she sets that boundary now.
It's the what, not the why. Because we know the why, because we've been watching the movie for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And God, that 2-shot of MacLaine and Daniels when they realize that she's gone. And McClane, like, is fucking losing it because she clearly thinks that she's going to get the big Oscar scene with her daughter to totally make sense of their relationship before she dies. And also thinks that will give her the sort of, like, relief. And now it's just like, nope, it's just a moment. And Daniels,
I think there's also a
just
disbelief that it actually happened.
Yes.
Especially because not much was allocated to that in terms of the film, in terms of the scenes. Like you talk about, we don't see her, descent and whatnot.
The strings aren't swelling.
Yeah,
it's just
she
another
looks
night.
fine.
She looks fine.
Yeah.
And Daniels is just like dumbstruck.
Right.
Totally dumbstruck.
Yeah.
Like can't even process it.
Well, he also, there's a feeling I have with that character as if he always expected her to go one way or another. Like she was going to leave him or something. You know what I mean? Like he never expected to have 30 more years with her.
I also...
And Shirley MacLaine did.
Not 30, but love that he never finds out about her affair.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. That he will just go to his grave being like, she was so much better than me, which she was.
Yeah.
She never would have done something like what I did to her. You know?
Yeah.
And she had her affair off of a suspicion, which was probably correct.
I think she also had her affair off of a need. Off of an emotional
100%.
need.
That's the biggest thing. Right. But was able to like justify it to herself as like, Flap's probably doing this. I need this, and Flap's probably not treating me any better.
Right,
yeah, she didn't seem to have any qualms about it when they're having that discussion in the diner.
And she's furious about the Janice thing without ever saying, like, look, I get it. I was, up to no
But she
good
does
as
this
well.
before the Janice thing.
Yes, that's what I'm
the
saying,
affair
right?
before.
And yet when the Janice thing rears its head, she's like, "Fuck you."
Isn't there that moment in the
worse,
hospital?
it's
though?
worse.
Yeah,
it's worse.
He dragged the family there.
Isn't there that moment in the hospital where he starts to bring it up and she goes like, "You're right. We shouldn't talk about our marriage right now."
Right? Yeah.
Like she doesn't want to have to admit it.
Yeah, maybe that's part of it.
And also, it's like, what's the point at this point?
I mean, that's what I
That's
figure.
the real
It's
thing,
like,
right? Like,
what's to
we
be
don't
gained?
need to keep having this argument that it has no solution.
It would be
no
a knife
point,
twist, right? Yeah, and then it ends with a funeral where every character is there, just quietly trying to move on with their life. Flap finally breaks down. Nicholson reaches out to the rebellious boy who he sees something in. McClane gets a 5-point comedy joke in there about Nicholson picking up the daughter. And it like ends on her just kind of like wistfully laughing.
Yeah, it's
Good
not
ending.
a depressing or a depressed
No.
funeral.
And
just a little laugh, cut to blue credits, right? Like,
right. Blockbuster. America lines up around the block to see it a 5th time.
We'll talk about the box office in a second, but also won Best Picture.
Best director,
one of the
best
few films
screenplay.
we've covered that is won Best Picture.
Yes, and
right?
the only first film we've covered, certainly.
Sure.
We've covered one other Best Picture? Titanic.
Is there any others? I don't think
Did
so.
you just call it Titanic?
Yeah, the movie Titanic.
He thinks that's funny.
I'm just checking.
I feel like someone else called you out for that recently.
Chris Gether.
Yes.
I think
right.
because everyone wants to know if it's intentional and you think it's funny.
It is.
He does. It is, and he
It
does.
is intentional, and he does think it's funny.
yes
right.
and yes.
That's true of almost anything Griffin does.
Yeah.
You're like, is that intentional? And do you think that's funny?
I think
yes
sometimes
and
he
yes.
stumbles into things or he accidentally says things and then he commits to them.
He commits.
Makes the choice.
Never.
That's
I
true.
can't even believe you would say that. That has never happened. As if I've ever misspoken and then doubled down to
True.
own it as a joke out of
Never said
embarrassment.
anything unintentional in my life.
Never, ever.
This movie won 5 Oscars.
Picture, director, screenplay, actress.
And supporting actor.
Oh, and supporting actor.
It's
right.
good.
Yeah?
It's
a good movie.
I'd say
Big
it's
fan, huh?
It's about as good as it gets, yeah. This movie is about
How do you know?
as good as it gets. I heard that on the broadcast news.
Spanglish.
Anytime.
Oh, God.
Ben, you like it? Have you seen it before?
No. I kind of love movies set in the 70s.
Mhm.
I think I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
We got to make a
A
Ben
mediocre
Hosley.
white guy who likes to drink too much and smokes pot. Like, I belong
It's
as a
accurate.
burnout dude in the 70s. Yeah.
Also, like the best films were made in the 70s. So
Yes.
the second best films
Good
are set
movies.
in the 70s.
Right.
So we were saying
made
this.
and
Yeah.
or set.
We were saying this before we start recording, but how this movie makes both of us angry that they don't make movies like this
Yeah.
anymore.
For sure.
And I feel like as a fan of movies, you feel that kind of anger where it's like, God, look at how confident they are in telling their story the way they want to,
Mhm.
with such delicacy and perception and all of that. But also as an actor, I get furious that I'll never get to act in a movie like this.
Yeah, we won't.
We probably
you might
won't.
act
Probably
in a
not.
TV show like this.
Yeah, it's called The Tick.
Yeah.
It's exactly like this.
It's the terms of endearment of TV shows.
Before we do the box office game, there's just one Oscar nomination I want to point out that blows my mind. This film was nominated for Best Sound.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's a weird nomination.
That tricky car in water.
The music.
Scene.
Oh, that's true.
Sound.
That's true.
Which we also, I don't feel like we fully investigated.
Well,
the car in
you
water
really
scene.
wanted to talk about how they start the sports car after it is flooded.
That shit is flooded. All
That
right?
shit is not starting.
Yeah.
But the stunt of throwing him from the car is very good. If you wanted me on my back, you could have just asked.
Yes. It also is the most violent post boob grab scene I've ever seen, and the fact that they stay in it for that long is great.
And then he gets it stuck in the. Oh my god!
And she's like twisting his wrist.
Yeah, that's probably the most farcical
Yes.
moment. It's it's vaudevillian.
Yes.
And because she's holding it on to her breast quite clearly.
But also like
That
trying to
whole
like
90
judo
seconds.
flip him almost in the sand. Yeah.
But the music by Michael Gore. Yeah. What did you want to say, Benny?
It rules.
Sometimes it was a little.
Yeah, it grates sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes
in my opinion.
it's well executed. Other times you're like, what is this?
He's the Fame guy. He was known for Fame before this. He did like the songs
All
from
the songs for
Fame.
Fame.
Right.
I like that the score like sounds kind of like a jaunty like opening sitcom theme, and then gets into this like very sad.
That's the thing I don't like it because
it's a little
it does what the
sitcom-y.
movie doesn't do,
Right.
which is that it tries to tell you what to feel.
That was
and
my
the
problem.
film, like the film, never does that.
Sometimes
the direction doesn't do it.
It comes up a little loud where you're like, we're fine. We're in the scene. Don't worry about it.
I just think it's a banger. Like when I go to the club, I ask them to put on Terms of Endearment. Do that needle drop, you know?
So we're gonna.
Na.
Can we play the box office game?
Yeah. I think there's one other important thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
That this movie weirdly has its sequel.
It does have a sequel.
Doesn't exist and no one talks about it.
Called The Evening Star. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I have not seen.
Not directed by James L. Brooks. Not written by James L. Brooks.
But Shirley MacLaine's in it, and guess who else is in it?
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson showed up for this.
Insane.
In 1996.
Now,
I don't think he.
96?
I don't think he does. I think he's probably in like one scene or something.
I heard it's an extended cameo.
Sure.
Is it the scene where he sleeps with the granddaughter?
Boy.
Because she is the other character,
I think
right?
Juliette Lewis plays the granddaughter.
It's Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis. Bill Paxton is in it, which is I'm all for.
Yeah.
Any
Sure.
Texan drama, like I want Bill Paxton. Miranda Richardson.
Nice.
Like it's a perfectly good cast.
And what's her name weirdly got a Golden Globe nomination for that movie.
What's her name?
Who's the other person in the cast?
Julia Lewis?
Shirley
Miranda
Jones?
Richardson? No, not Shirley Jones. I'm going to find out for you in
From
one
the Partridge
second.
Family. What's the name of the person?
Marion Ross.
From Happy Days.
Happy Days. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yes.
She's in
Mrs.
Gilmore
C
Girls too. Yeah.
got nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that movie, which came out and bombed really fucking hard.
It did. It did get a Society of Texas Film Critic Award nomination for Shirley MacLaine.
A Lone Star?
Exactly.
I want to watch it now. I really do.
I kind of do too. It's similar length. It's 130 minutes. It was directed by someone called Robert Harling, who is the guy who had written Steel Magnolias.
Right.
But he had never directed a movie. He also wrote The First Wives Club and Soap Dish. So he was, he had his lane.
Lady movies.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the other secret sauce of this movie?
Yeah.
Because there's a figure, if you go deep on 70s and 80s cinema, who keeps on popping up in the right places.
Richard Marx?
Polly Platt.
Oh, yeah, Polly Platt.
Polly Platt, who was married to Peter Bogdanovich when he made good movies. And when he left her for Sybil Shepherd, he started making bad movies.
Wow.
Yep.
And she was there for many big American filmmakers' first films as a production designer, eventually became a producer and became a big partner at Gracie Films, James L. Brooks' company, but was there for this, Say Anything, Bottle Rocket, was kind of this like quiet hand to a lot of those people. She was always out of the spotlight. There's very little like sort of footage of her, interviews with her, but everyone has always cited her as this like insane kind of guiding force for all these careers. And then they all kind of moved past her and then very often would not reach the same heights they did when she was with them.
I'm so shocked by that narrative.
Right?
That's so surprising to me in every way.
Polly Platt's a really fucking interesting figure. If someone writes a whole fucking book about at some point.
Subtle.
2 sarcasm points.
I don't feel like those are good points.
Those are good points.
No, they're good. This movie opened number 2
at
the box office on 260 screens.
And Return of the Jedi was number 1.
No, Return of the Jedi is already departed theaters.
When does it come out?
It's like Ewoks, Shirley MacLaine.
November 25th.
Okay, so it's a Thanksgiving picture.
It expands the next week.
Okay.
But it opens number 2 to $3.4 million.
Huge.
Sure. It's going to gross 108, I think, domestic.
Which today would be like
300.
Yeah.
300.
Insane.
Because they made it for what, 8?
Yes. It did quite well.
That's pretty crazy. Like a time when it's like, okay, we open on 260 screens.
Right.
We make a hair under 4. This movie's looking pretty good. We're halfway back to making our budget back.
Yeah, right. And it's definitely going to win all the major Oscars.
Right.
Number 1 is a family cult classic.
Ooh.
Embarrassing confession. I've never seen this film.
It's a family cult classic.
Have you seen this?
Of course.
Yeah, because that's the kind of reaction you usually get
From
when you say you've never seen it.
1983.
It's a holiday movie.
Holiday movie?
It's not Christmas Vacation, is it?
No.
I've
You were
never
close.
seen that, though.
Christmas Story?
Boom.
Opened at number 1?
Really?
This is its 3rd week. And last week, this is its 2nd week. It opened at number 3, rose to number 1.
You've never seen A Christmas Story?
That's
Isn't that
weird.
crazy?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. So they're like one Christmas classic I've never seen, I
Is
guess.
it a choice at this point? Are you abstaining?
No, I just never knew that this was the thing. And then suddenly when I was a little older, I realized like everyone loves this movie.
And
didn't watch it
every
growing
network
up?
marathons it
Yeah.
on Christmas?
I was going to say, in David's defense, it's not like they ever show it on TNT. I mean,
Yeah.
there aren't a lot of opportunities for him to watch it.
All right, well, I really did not want to do this, but I did grow up in another country.
David, you can't drop a bombshell on this late in an episode. We would need
What?
45 minutes to dig into this.
Valerie,
What
they
are you
like to make
talking
fun of
about?
me for
Well, like
this.
Canada, right? Our neighbors next door,
No.
Canada. You grew up
They
in the
would
United
show
States
this.
of America.
They would show this
They would
movie
show this in Canada.
So
No,
what are you
in
saying?
Britain.
Britain.
What?
Yeah, I grew up in London. You know that.
God,
I've told you a
this
million
is-
times.
I've
It's a
known
bit we
this.
do
Calls
on
it
this
Britain,
podcast
too.
every
5
week.
years I've known this man. One of my best friends.
He's really fancy.
I'm very fancy. Anyway, this movie is nothing to British people, so I think that might be part of it.
I can attest to that. My husband had never seen it until I watched it with him. That is
There
true.
you go. It's just it's
You
an
guys are just
American cult
endless sources
classic.
of disappointment.
Wait, is your
He is from Britain. Yes,
Wow, this is a
my
bomb drop.
God.
I know. He's
Um,
never seen Terms of Endearment either.
Wow.
I know.
Hey, can I tell you
That's
something
crazy. Mm.
When my insane Shirley MacLaine-esque grandmother decided to rebrand herself as a European socialite,
Mm.
you know who she married? My biological grandfather,
I don't.
an Englishman.
All right.
I'm a quarter British, baby.
Oh,
Damn.
boy.
Ben, what do you got?
I'm just the whitest.
Most
He
American.
just
Hello.
looks super English.
I mean, yeah, I'm
You do
just,
look.
I'm just like a mutt
Just ruddy
from the
and
islands.
ginger and-
yeah.
You look like an artisanal potato farmer.
I will.
You
take
look
it.
like the guy to bring potatoes back.
I'm seeing more dairy, frankly.
Oh, interesting.
like
Oh, sure.
cheese, like from cheddar,
Okay.
Yeah.
I make cheese, perhaps.
perhaps.
I would be into that.
Cheese.
Good, strong cheddar.
Cheeseman.
A cheese man. A monger, if you will.
A cheesemonger.
Different thing, different
A
profession.
fromagier.
I always thought Christmas Story bombed
I
when
believe
it
it's the
people that
seller.
sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made $20 million,
Yeah.
which is not great.
No, but I thought it like did nothing, and then the cult came later. But I guess it did okay.
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 Number 3 at the box office is one of the other movies that was nominated for Best Picture this year.
1912.
It's another movie that they probably just wouldn't make a movie of anymore. It would probably be a TV show.
Did it win anything?
I don't think so.
It got nominated for Best Picture.
Had a famous soundtrack.
The famous.
As famous as Terms of Endearment's soundtrack.
More.
More.
I would say. My mother owns this soundtrack
Was it
on vinyl.
Was it a musical or not?
No.
Ooh.
It was one of those early movies where the soundtrack had all these rock hits and people actually bought it.
The Big Chill.
The Big Chill.
Ooh.
Big Motown soundtrack.
Yes. And
That's a great one.
Because they used to have a place in New York called the Motown Cafe,
Sure.
which my dad loved because my dad's all about Motown. It was like a horrible like hard rock type
Right,
place, but my
right,
dad
right.
liked it because they had guys come out and pretend to be the Temptations. And so I would just look at all these like framed record albums they had, and I always would be like, what the fuck are these white people doing on the wall? Like it was like all these great Motown records, and then the Big Chill was like prominently displayed, and I was like, William Hurt did a Motown record?
Yeah, he did. He did. That's right. He did a Motown record.
Yeah.
It was called The Big Chill
But that was a
with Larry
huge,
Kasdan.
huge album.
Huge album, big movie.
Mhm. Big Chill. Big Hurt.
Real big chill.
Yeah.
Number 4 is a franchise film that is technically not part of the franchise that it is part of.
Never Say Never Again.
Correct. I mean, it's a specific clue, but how else do you describe that movie?
The one Bond book where the rights
Which I
weren't-
believe is Thunderball.
Yes.
It's one of them is owned by someone else.
The rights were split.
The rights remain split, as far as I know.
So there's the official Bond, Roger Moore Thunderball, but then the other half the rights.
Sean Connery. Thunderball.
I thought no, because it's one of the ones. Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
I think that's a remake of a Roger Moore one done again with Sean Connery. They did the same book twice?
Pretty sure. I'm looking it up now.
You know, I've only ever seen one Bond movie.
Yes, it is the second adaptation of Thunderball, which
that's insane.
Connery had already done. What's the Bond movie you've seen?
I'm not going to sound cool because it's Casino Royale.
I mean, it's a good movie.
That's it. That's it.
They did this unofficial Bond movie with Sean Connery.
Yes.
That came out the same year as an official Bond movie.
Right, with Max von Sydow as Blofeld.
Yeah.
And it's like Connery with like a real piece on his head.
Yeah.
Like, Connery is 10 years removed from like when he was Bond.
Yes.
And they're like, he's back, baby. And he's like, hello. He's not into it.
And
weird movie.
The title was his response when people would ask him if he ever play Bond again.
Right.
That's not like something from the books. They were like, you ever play Bond again? He was like, never say never again.
Great.
And then they greenlit that interview response.
Number 5.
Yes.
Is a horror film, a sequel.
Isn't that a Kirshner movie too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's a horror film sequel. Is it a Freddy Krueger picture?
No. It's a slightly lesser franchise.
But does it have an iconic big bad?
No.
No?
I mean...
It doesn't have like a...
This is one of those things where the environment is the big bad.
Is the environment a house?
That's right.
Is it an Amityville horror?
That's right. Which one, though?
3? I know.
3.
Oh, I have to guess.
Amityville 3.
D.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
That's right.
They added another
dimension. I've never seen that one, but I remember the poster is like a weird monster claw is coming out of the house, which is weird.
Haven't they made like 10 of those?
They've made a lot. I've seen the first one.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen any of them.
Right.
Isn't the Conjuring essentially the same story but done realistically?
Correct.
But there was wasn't there another Amityville basically like the same year as Conjuring? Thinking of. It wasn't called Amityville.
Well, they did remake it with Ryan Reynolds
right.
like 10 years ago or so.
And there's a Jennifer Jason Leigh one that went straight to Google this year or last year, rather.
It's gonna kill me.
Yes, it's
I
one
know
of
what
those
you're talking
things
about.
where
you know what I'm talking about?
I do. There's so many like haunted house
movies.
movies.
It's a guy from The Office or from Office Space whose name I can't remember.
Ron Livingston.
Ron Livingston. That actually is
Ron
very
Livingston is in
familiar.
The Conjuring, right?
Is he in The Conjuring? Maybe
Conjuring's
you're
the Lily
thinking...
Taylor Ron Livingston one.
Maybe it's a different Ron Livingston.
Lily Taylor Ron Livingston joint.
One of those vehicles.
Yeah.
No, but that's one of those stories where like it's vague enough where it's like some people lived in the house and they said it was spooky that like 20 different movies have gone like, well, it's based on a true story.
But The Conjuring is not one of the ones with the Vera Farmiga.
It's both.
No, it is.
Oh,
it is.
They're the investigators. Lily
And
Taylor
Patrick
and Ron
Wilson
Livingston are
the hauntees.
Yes.
Maybe I separated them as two different horror movies in my mind.
That's the appeal of the Conjuring
how
films.
can
You get
you
two
have
movies. Yeah.
both Ron Livingston and Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
The
in
Conjuring.
one film.
It's also a franchise that gives you spooks and gives you a good marriage.
And also,
That's
the
what I like about-
Annabelle is a spin-off, right?
Right.
Yes.
But the real Annabelle's a Raggedy Ann doll.
Right. We've talked about this
Not a doll that
extensively.
looks spooky.
Some of the other movies in the top 10 all include The Smurfs and the Magic Flute.
Oh, yes.
All the Right Moves, in which you see Tom Cruise's penis.
Pee-pee. You get a peek of the peen in that movie.
It's actually not a bad movie.
It's actually not a bad dick either.
Sure. The Right Stuff, which is a great movie.
This is another thing.
He likes to talk about.
I think there should be more penises in film. I'm looking for equality.
But then he
and
won't
I think we
say
have
that
to
he's
even it out.
I will completely support that
Right?
statement. That there do need to be more penises.
Yeah,
in
get a
film.
couple dangs. Dangs. I couldn't decide whether I want to say wang or dong, and now it's dangs.
Now that's your word for
That's
penis.
my hello fennel. I have to call penises dangs now.
Griffin, what do you like?
I like dangs.
Educating Rita. That's right. That
Yeah.
was happening in '83.
We
Rita
got
was getting
educated.
educated. Exactly. Richard Pryor's concert movie Here and Now.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a fun week at the box office.
Yeah. You know what's represented there?
What?
A variety of different types of film.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But that's what's fun because we don't get that today.
I know.
Wait, you got your what? Your fucking Transformers 52? You know what I'm saying?
Ding.
At the box office? Well, don't say
we have
ding.
both Marvel and DC.
That is true. We do have some variety there.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could anyone object?
Yeah. Yeah, you get both Black Widow and Black Panther. very different types of characters.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I'm done.
Yeah. It's a good movie, and it's frustrating to watch.
What terms?
End a conversation in terms of endearment about Marvel and DC.
Yeah, we did. But let's bring it back around.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Is there any filmmaker now
who could make this movie?
That could make this kind of movie? Is it even possible? I guess Apatow.
Yeah.
But I feel like
I'm saying
he was trying to move in that direction.
I'm saying
I think he failed, but
he might not make a movie as good as Terms of Endearment, but he would make this movie. He would make this kind of a movie, like a fairly plotless movie about people.
But I think all of the things that we found revolutionary about it, he would not do, because it would be about, as you say, mediocre pot smoking white guys like falling into opportunity that they fuck up, but then still somehow get it back again.
Right.
Because it all works out in the end
because
for
heroes.
us.
Heroes.
No, but like The Big Sick is like the closest you get to this kind of thing, and even it doesn't have the courage to go as emotional, as this.
I mean,
The Big Sick's pretty emotional. I mean, she's sick.
Yeah, and it's a big sick.
I mean, I'll be topical and say like Lady Bird has qualities.
Right, I agree. But that's an indie movie. But yes, absolutely.
Okay, sure.
Right.
But but in the senses that we discussed, like she has sexual experiences with various people, and it's not what the movie's about. It's not what the movie's about. There's not repercussions.
It's consistently funny without being jokey.
And it's also like, and it also sort of explores this kind of like imperfect dynamic between her and her mother and whatnot.
It's weird.
And how we're still drawn to the people that we are desperate to get away from.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is weird to me that when morons discount or write off Lady Bird, they're like, yeah, but it's like Slice, it's just about a girl in high school.
Right.
And I feel like to some stupid degree, to some stupid degree, Terms of Endearment needed like the big bad of cancer in the last 15 minutes in order to be like, oh, well, that's like a legitimate
serious movie.
To validate its presence.
Because that's the thing. This movie won the Oscar, but it also won like every critics award. Yeah. Like it was a universally
favorite,
approved.
A critic's favorite. Yes. Like everyone was down with it. And I think if it had just been a well-observed mother and daughter relationship through the Ages movie, they might have been like, yeah, I mean, it's well written, but come on, it's not like...
It's a screenplay winner, not a picture winner.
Right.
Which is what Lady Bird is probably going to be pigeonholed as.
But these films, they don't get made at the studio level. And Apatow was someone who seemed like he was trying to do it, but he hasn't made a fucking talkie in a couple years.
Well, he made Trainwreck. That was his last one.
Couple years.
Yeah.
And he
was
said,
that 14?
Yeah. He said he has a hard time getting films made now.
I believe it.
Like, that's why he's been doing more TV, and then the films he's been producing have been indies, because even at the studio level, he's like, I don't think I could get Bridesmaids greenlit today.
That's pretty weird, considering that he made Trainwreck, which is not a particularly good movie.
Made a ton of money.
But it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
Like, he's been working less on his own films and
pushing... he's been doing a lot of like, all right, what about you? What's your story?
But the people he's mentoring, he's like, let's go to HBO rather than let's go to Universal.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of dispiriting.
It's also just stupid. It's just bad business. Like a movie like Lady Bird, that's like an incredibly profitable movie.
Yeah.
Fuck. What's the? He's a British comedy actor director, Richard
Ayoade?
Yeah.
Did
you see the movie about a coming of age?
Submarine.
Yeah,
I love that.
That is so good, and that's
a great
kind of
movie.
is in this vein a little bit.
Yes.
You
Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. No.
That movie is wonderful.
Outstanding.
I feel like that's one of those ones that always goes by on Netflix.
Yeah.
Definitely worth watching.
Good movie.
There are people making films
but
like
that
this.
was funded with like British government
in
money.
other countries and other
Yeah.
And even like I wish fucking Lady Bird was a movie that made $150 million.
It made a lot of money.
Yeah. It did, and I'm not discounting its success.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if a movie like that wasn't pigeonholed as like, oh, that's a good for an indie, and was allowed to play like at the same level as when dramas used to fucking make the same amount of money as like action movies. I miss it. I'm a baby.
Oh boy. Anyway,
sucks.
Lady Bird did
we
very
do
well.
Television.
I know, that's why we do television. Speaking of the
stories
Tick, season 1B.
It's already happened.
Get ready. The last time you're going to see me not be swole.
Fair enough.
Do you need a trainer?
Yeah.
You want to get thick?
Do you want to smoke cigarettes?
Yeah.
And do push-ups, and I'll yell at you?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
That is how that's how you lose weight.
Val, do you have anything else in the can?
Well, I don't know when it's being released yet. I just worked on a film, very independent film as well, called Inherit the Viper.
Okay.
In Alabama. That's very good, really good cast. About the sort of opioid epidemic.
Hey.
Sure.
Yeah, stuff. And And no, I'm doing a bunch of work with my theater company in the spring on plugging. I'll plug a benefit. I'm going to plug a benefit. I'm producing a benefit on March 30th in Red Hook.
I think this is coming out in April.
No, I think it's coming out before then. Yeah,
No?
yeah. No, it is.
Shit,
Yeah.
do I have enough time?
Yes.
Yeah. This comes out March 19th.
Fuck
Hey,
yeah. Okay, March 30th in Red Hook at Atelier Roquette. We're having a second annual benefit this year. It's going to go to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, and it's going to be diverse artists from all over New York. It's a big concert event. It's also going to be storytellers, poets, speakers, whatnot, stuff like that.
Everyone go.
So
I will go.
Go and have a beautiful, healing, raging evening, and just we'll raise money for Time's Up.
And if I can get sappy for a second,
Here we go.
I've said this to you a lot, and you always brush it off and tell me not to say this.
He's going to get weird now.
I'm going to get weird.
God.
I would not have gotten cast if it weren't for you.
Wow.
You were the first person cast on the
I said
tick.
his lines from behind him.
Because she was feeding them to me Johnny Depp style through an earpiece.
Yeah.
Val was the first person cast on the tick because you are in pilot season a very hot commodity.
Okay.
No, and you auditioned early, and they want to cast the tick first, and then Arthur, and then Dot.
I was almost the tick. I was so close.
Right, because they want to just put a pin in you. They want to call dibs.
Fucking Peter.
So
Because he's British.
when I was in contention, and certain higher-ups were worried to hire someone who was as negative famous as I am.
Well, it's just the poison of anti-renewal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
They knew what comes with Griffin Newman.
Right. The final thing to sort of sell them on me being able to do the show, because there wasn't a tick yet, was to do the Dot and Arthur scenes with the two of us together. And you are a New York person, as I am. You agreed to fly out to LA in order to read with me. And in between the takes when we were filming, we started comparing notes on how pale we are.
That's why we were cast together.
And they sent that to the network and said, look how much they already seem like siblings.
Aww.
They're so pasty.
But also, I think genuinely, I did a better job in that audition I'd ever done before, because Val is the absolute easiest person in the world to act with.
Well, that's very
She
nice.
has that insane Deborah Winger thing. I will say it.
Shut up.
Where everything she
coke.
does is right. She's got that Deborah Winger thing where she's constantly trying to kick a cigar.
That's forever going to be the Deborah Winger thing.
You just do coke constantly
euphemism
until filming starts, and then you're like, all right, we're quitting.
She also shoves you right before the shot starts.
Of
right
course.
Before they call action, she shoves you.
I do hit you too hard sometimes.
You hit me very hard. We've gotten into fights over. No, the fight was me saying it's fine, please let her keep hitting me. That makes it sound weird now. But do you remember, like, on set, they'd be like, you're punching too hard, and we had to be like, no, this is how, like, siblings, like, fight.
Well, there was a lot of discussion about
There were a lot of discussions about a lot of things.
getting to be angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you make acting very easy because you, like, literally have never had a false moment. It's insane watching you, like, take after take after take. Even if you try wildly different things, they're always spot on.
Well, that's very nice.
Crazy good.
I appreciate that because it's really a struggle to work with you.
Yeah, it is very difficult.
Also.
I hear that.
That's the main compliment I can give, is that Val makes it look like I can kind of act.
It's honestly, I think it's the fact that you just inherently as a human, and it's not true. Now I know it's not fucking true, but you have this ability to convince everyone around you that you need to be protected. Yeah. And so everyone therefore protects you. And that
is a very canny observation.
When he doesn't fucking need it, he's fine.
She's fine. Constantly orchestrated. Yes. She says that during interviews.
Good.
People shouldn't feel bad for him.
I'm going to hit him harder. He can take
Don't be fooled.
Yeah. But you're the best actor I've ever worked with. You're incredible. Yeah.
Thank
truly.
you very much.
And the greatest podcast guest in the history of podcasting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take that.
Take that, Gallagher on WTF.
Oh, boy. Where are you going?
Shots fired.
Yep.
And look, what an incredible start to a filmography. What an incredible start to a miniseries.
Yep.
Clearly.
I can't wait to hear the As Good As It Gets episode.
It's mostly about Star Wars.
It's a wild episode. lot of tangents
we'll
in
tease that one. A lot of Star Wars talking, or As Good As It Gets.
That might improve it, though.
Kind of.
You know what? As Good As It Gets needed. It needed a little more Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Good As It Gets, or as I would call it, just good enough.
I like it more than you.
You do. I like it.
I think I'm with you. We haven't discussed it, but I think I'm with you.
I make my case on that episode. Probably. I can't remember. Mostly we talk about Star Wars.
Make more of a case for General Radis.
Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media, Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. March Madness, boy, things are burning up. Woo! Of course, this week we all know that. And gee golly whiz, what about?
All right.
I'm not doing that.
And let's talk about the ding of this filmmaker.
Dang,
you already messed it up. Now you can say ding or dang.
God damn it.
Now, what if I call them ding dangs?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Go to Reddit, the Blanky subreddit, blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Ben, do you have something to say?
Stay tuned for some burger reports.
Oh, yeah. We're going to start throwing them at the end of episodes.
Yeah, we've been doing it.
So you'll hear them there. But just know so you don't delete the file before you get to that nice, juicy burger report.
I did, baby.
Oh, Val, Val, you've worked with some big people.
Yeah.
You're a mover and shaker within the film industry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We like to collect reports of people who have seen a famo.
This is true.
A famous person.
A famous person.
Yes, like you.
A burger. Have you ever, at a party, on set, seen a famo eat a burger? Could be turkey.
Could be lamb.
Could be cheese.
Ooh.
Could be Sanchez.
God damn it.
Sliders included.
I was going to say, I know cider, but it was not. Like there are more famous people. I'm racking my brain for memories of Kevin Bacon eating burgers.
Well, so my question about I thought you might bring up Kevin Bacon, and I wanted to know if
David's favorite actor,
my favorite actor, if there was bacon on the burger.
I've never seen him eat a burger. He's a very fit man.
Sure, he is.
He's a
trim.
very trim, fit man. But I did see James Purefoy eat sliders.
Sure,
does that count?
Of course.
Yeah. Most famous people bring their own food to things.
Question.
It's usually lentils.
Is he a 1 bite or a 2 bite guy?
Oh, good point. Does the slider? I mean, one bite is
British,
impressive.
all right.
Yeah.
He's not an animal.
He eats it with like a knife and fork, probably.
Yeah.
I'm a 1 bite guy.
No, it's a 2 bite, but somehow there's never any condiment on his fingers or his face.
That's the Purefoy magic.
I went to a party the other night where I ate a slider that had so much grease on it. Then I ordered a gin and tonic, and I used the ice from the gin and tonic to wash my hands because the line from the bathroom was too long.
Great.
And then someone came up to me and was like, "Hi, I'm the president of the network," and I had to act like I was an adult.
See? You see how he's orchestrating this performance, this
making
persona
everyone think they gotta worry about me.
Valerie, I'm very aware of Griffin's whole persona.
He's never even seen an ice cube, let alone washed with one.
He grew up in Manhattan. He's a fancy boy.
Downtown Griffey Nooms.
Yes.
Anyway, so your report is, I have seen James Purefoy eat a slider. I do know that one can put bacon on a burger, but I don't know if you can put a burger in a bacon.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I can't.
That's that.
Well.
And as always, watch out for those ding-dongs, baby.
Ding-dangs!
You did it wrong again.
Idiot. Thank you for calling the Burger Report hotline.
802-8-BURGER.
Please leave a message with your famo, type of burger, and location, and we will try to put it on the podcast if we can.
That's 802-8-BURGER.
Hi, this is Travis from Knoxville, Tennessee. Right before Death Proof came out, Quentin Tarantino came into a restaurant that I worked at, Cafe 4, in downtown Knoxville, which apparently Quentin Tarantino went to high school in Knoxville. That's why he puts a bunch of like Tennessee or Knoxville shit in all his movies. He was apparently like there filming some footage for where the girls pick up the car, and he came into our restaurant. We used to do a burger special on Mondays for a $6 burger, like a classic burger with like a nice cheddar cheese, like thick ground mustard. And he was there, and it was really cool. That's it.
When I was in Austin, Texas, I was an editorial intern for one Terrence Malick and his production companies. And one time, usually we would get salads and wraps and healthy things. One time, we got P. Terry's, which is a local Austin burger chain. And yes, I saw Terrence Malick eat a cheeseburger. I cannot confirm if there was any wind blowing or ethereal monologues, but sure ate that burger like a champ, so that's my thing. Burger Report. this has nothing to do with anything, but I just felt the need to tell you and for the world to know that Terrence Malick loves Die Antwoord. The band, you know, the band that was in Chappie, loves them. Seriously. Like one of his favorite bands. And it's so cool. And I want everyone to know that. So, and yes, he does in fact really, really love Zoolander. So both those things are true. All right. That's all. Just wanted to share. Goodbye.